Hello everyone, my name is Lestat Monroe. I'm the founder and the board member of the Romanian Diversity Chamber of Commerce. I've been told that I should not explain longer what is the chamber about because apparently we are leading the path in Romania in diversity, inclusion and equality in society, but also in the corporate world. I would like to thank you for your presence today to our Gender Equal Investment Fund Conference 2023. I will be available for you guys if you have any questions regarding the chamber, but I want to give the opportunity to my moderator, Andrea Vasile, to start the conference because we really want to be on schedule. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. We're gonna have a day together. I hope we'll enjoy it and we'll find some interesting things about what it means as a woman, mainly to have access to finance and tools to create our own businesses and evolve in our own businesses. I don't own a business. I'm just a freelancer in communication and journalism. But sometimes when thinking about my projects, I'm trying to see what I can do to maybe find the right people or the money to maybe create projects and evolve, just as I say, as a person and with my business as well. So today we'll be having a lot of interesting guests that will be sharing their experiences on different topics from investment to banking to human rights to how can we have access to tools and the money to create whatever businesses we want to create for ourselves and for the community, of course. The opening remarks will be given by Lara Tasan-Zanin, head of the EIB group in Romania and honorary member of RDCC, and by Laura Jimenez, regional senior commercial officer at the US Embassy, which I invite here in front of you all. We will be hearing from them first, and then we will continue with the next guest, and I will tell you more about it later. Welcome and thank you. This is open, and I will give you my mic.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for you to be here today, and thank you for the Romanian Diversity Chamber of Commerce for having put together this event today. As a European Investment Bank Group and myself as head of office, I joined Romania in 2018, and since then I have been a passionate advocate for gender equality, for more gender equality in Romania, not only because I believe this is the way to go in general, globally, but because I believe that Romania has the best to gain out of more gender equality in the society, in politics, and of course in the market. Back then, can you hear? Yeah. Back then, as the Bank of the European Union, I went, and coming from Turkey, I went to all the banks we work with, and we proposed our product to support female entrepreneurs. And I was told that there was not need in this market for such products. I said, wow, what a fantastic reality in Romania that female entrepreneurial products are not needed. And then I said, okay, let me know how many female-led businesses you have in your portfolio then, so that we can be very vocal about the success of Romania. Oh, but we don't have this data. Ah, then you don't know how many female-led businesses you have in your portfolio. And this was the starting point. I mean, you might have a perception that women have equal access to finance and to opportunities, but then the reality might be different, and the only way to discover it is to get data, to monitor data, to understand the remit of the problem, to find a solution for the problem, and to move on. So from this experience, I learned quickly that there was a need in Romania to talk about this topic, because indeed you have to understand that I think there are some studies being done also more recently that more female economic participation in Romania will translate into a GDP growth between 8 and 10% in the next years. The Romanian market has huge potential, but also some challenges. And one big challenge is a limited workforce and skilled labor force. So if one side you see that there are not enough people to hire, and on the other side there are not enough women working and having access to finance and to credit or to seed financing for their startup ventures, then you immediately see the potential of a demand and offer matching. Starting from this point, I activated myself as EIB representative, and on a long journey, I discovered friends that are all here today from Vertica, with whom we have developed a public policy proposal to structure data collection in Romania in order to understand what is the situation of gender equality and how this is evolving, improving, not improving, deteriorating. And we are now pushing for this proposal to enter the parliament and to find champions and allies in the parliament in order to bring Romania to a comparable situation with other EU countries, at least in terms of which data we are gathering, which is the situation, in which way we are monitoring it, and how we can solve it. Then further down, I met, thanks God, the Diversity Chamber of Commerce in Romania was founded, so I found another ally. Then we have some of our clients, like Simona Gemeneanu, that you will hear from later today, or Brava Angels, or Women in Tech. I mean, more and more recently, I have to say, this space in Romania got populated with very, I would say, enthusiastic, authentic, strong women and men that are pursuing this topic and this topic of gender equality in Romania. Now, coming to this event, which gathers all these people together, I think it's now time to move from the talking to the walking. And we have done a lot of talk, which was not possible even 5 years ago, so I'm very proud of this. We have to reckon when there is a positive trend, and there is a positive trend in Romania about this topic that is nowadays more and more present in politics, in the media, in the market, and the event of today is one example of it. Moving to the walking means, in my opinion, that we have to try to build this ecosystem that will be conducive to bring together more female, in this specific angle of the market, more female ventures, more female startups, more female-led startups and female founders, matching them with financing, access to credit, and indeed, this cannot be done only by having female willing to pursue their venture, or by having banks willing to support female entrepreneurs, or by having venture capital business angel funders willing to support these ventures. But we need an ecosystem where not equal opportunities are given to a community of female founders, to where a community of business angels and investors can really value the diversity in business, because it's not only about all women all around. I think I have to say I'm very proud today to see equally men and women attending this event. I think the main point is not about having women all around. The main point is about having diverse teams, diverse founders teams, diverse business angels community, in order to be able to recognize that diversity is a value, brings better performance, brings better results, particularly in challenging times. And I truly believe that diversity teams and diversity societies take better decisions for all, and this is why We will continue to support this topic, and I'm happy that the European Investment Fund, that is part of our group, will present to you later today one of our recent research on the situation of the access to finance for female, both from banks and from venture capital funds in Europe, including in Romania. Thank you very much again for joining today.
Thank you so much for those encouraging words, and know that you're doing so much to gather the data that is so important, so difficult to obtain more times than not to be able to move forward. Thank you so much to the leadership of the Romanian Diversity Chamber of Commerce. Most of us have been on a small break. How many of you here is your first day back at work? Yeah? Good. Let's all pay attention and make the best out of today. Again, it's a pleasure to be here today and be part of today's conference that focuses on gender equality and investment. Today, as you have been previously told, we'll hear from numerous experts and get to hear all the data behind why it's so important to have equity and diversity in all aspects of business. As you actively listen to the stories of these successful women leading investments funds, I want to challenge each and one of you to do exactly what we've been told. Walk the talk. And listen for specific opportunities that each of you can take with you to implement an actionable way of improving this much needed change in our society. It is no secret that women have historically been underrepresented in the investment industry, both as investors and as recipients of investment funds. However, we must recognize that achieving gender equality in this field is not just a matter of fairness. It's also a matter of economic sense and social progress, which you will hear about throughout the entire day. First and foremost, let us acknowledge the challenges that women face in the investment world. One of the key barriers is the lack of access to capital. Studies after studies after studies have shown that women-led startups receive significantly less funding compared to those of male counterparts, despite demonstrating similar levels of competency and potential for success. This gender bias not only limits opportunities for women, but it also stifles innovation and economic growth. Fortunately, there are tremendous opportunities that come with embracing gender equity in investment. Numerous studies have revealed that diverse investment teams tend to outperform homogeneous ones. By including more women in investment funds, we can tap into a broader range of perspectives, ideas, and talents. This diversity of thoughts can lead to more informed decision-making and ultimately generate better returns for all of you investors in the room. When it comes to strategies for achieving gender diversity, we need to first foster an inclusive culture within all industries, not just the finance and investments. This involves creating a supportive environment where women feel valued and can thrive. Many of you lead work for companies that actively promote diversity and provide equal opportunities for career advancement. Congratulations to all of you that are already making a huge difference. The Biden-Harris administration is also making a difference. In October 2021, the administration released the first, you can believe this, the first ever US strategy on gender equity and equality, and listed economic security as growth as the first strategic priority. At the Department of Commerce, where I work, one of the ways that we advance this priority is through the Empower Her initiative. This is an initiative that promotes economic development for women. As of today, over 40 AmChams in Europe and Eurasia, along with 120 companies, have proudly signed the Declaration of Support of Women's Economic Empowerment. These trailblazers have embraced the idea of diversity, equity, equality, and inclusion embodied in the Empower Her initiative, infusing their programs with transformation principles. AmCham Romania, would have to say, was one of the first signatories of this impactful and inspire initiative. So congratulations to Romania. Lastly, education, as we're having today, and awareness play a vital role in promoting gender equality. We need to inspire and empower young girls to pursue careers in finance, economics, entrepreneurship, by challenging gender stereotypes and providing mentorship, education resources, and networking opportunities as we have today. So do not leave this room until you have 5 business cards from your from the audience, from the participants. We can cultivate a new generation of women who are equipped with the skills and confidence to excel in anything you want to do. In conclusion, by embracing diversity and providing equal opportunities, we can unlock the full potential of women in finance, drive innovation, and contribute to economic growth. Let's work together to create a future where gender is not a barrier, but a catalyst for success. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Laura and Lara. Our next speakers will tell us more about what's the situation when it comes to gender equality and investment in Central and Eastern Europe. So I'm personally very eager to find out as we just listen to things are improving, and that's a great thing that we as women have more opportunities to create our own thing in whatever we do. So now I'm inviting here Cristina, which is Economic and Commercial Counselor in the Embassy of the Kingdom of Spain, Simona Gemeneanu, co-founder Morphosis Capital, and Salome, Senior Research Officer, European Investment Fund. For some people, I only named the small name because I cannot pronounce, and rather than making a fool of myself, I would just let them say their entire name. So we will start with Cristina from the Embassy of Kingdom of Spain, and I welcome everybody here.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you for the Romanian Diversity Chamber of Commerce for inviting me. Gender equality and gender financing is a very important topic for Spain, and is one of our most important politics. And I would like to dedicate my time to share an initiative by the Spanish government, because I think we can learn from shared experiences from different countries and different institutions to apply what is working in one country to another. This initiative is called Women and Internationalization, and it was launched in 2019. And we're going to talk of the reasons of these initiatives and the main findings of it. Why internationalization and not a general initiative? It's because we identified that women-led businesses were present in all sectors as men-led businesses, but in subsectors that were not internationalization. So that's to say, they were just focusing on the local market in Spain or the regional one, even smaller one, and not going abroad. So they were not as productive as other companies that were focusing on the rest of Europe and the world. And this was not only for businesses, but also the positions in these companies were only 36% of women. Sorry about that. So this gap we identify is not a particular case of Spain. According to the World Trade Organization, only 15% of SMEs that export are led by women. So another reason is, as the previous speaker said, and we have found mixed teams from men and women and diversity in companies lead to more innovation and productivity. And in this sense, mixed teams are more efficient. So that's the reason of this initiative. And now we will focus on the findings that we had. In Spain, we organized a working group from both the public sector, private sector association, and universities and civil society to work on main 4 lines of action. First, develop statistics and data to know what's the situation. As Lara said, it's very important to know the data and to identify what really are the barriers for women not accessing equally to these opportunities. Second, the access to financing and how we can promote this as one of the most important. And the third one would be training in internationalization. And we identified that there were a lot of programs available, and one of the main reasons why women-led businesses were not accessing it was the lack of visibility of these programs, and also the lack of contact networks, women contact networks and mixed contact networks. So what we, as the government and the different public institutions decided to do is give more visibility, create women-led networks in the internationalization field, and also share success stories of women that were doing it and how they did it. So we organized a platform with short interviews of women telling their stories, how they started, what programs were available, and also to share what the formation in internationalization on how to go out of the country. Also, in terms of financing, we identified there was already a broad offer of different financing programs. As Lara already said, some of the people leading those programs didn't identify the need for specific programs for women. And we have, for example, an institution, the Institute of Official Credit, that gives lending to companies through private financial institutions, through banks. And after speaking with banks and analyzing the data, we identify some unconscious bias of lending to women. Some of these institutions thought that women-led enterprises were more risky in terms of credit, when the data showed just the opposite. So we introduced a gender perspective to focus on how many businesses were leading by women and were given this opportunity. And yeah. Also, besides, we identified that all the programs, financial programs, should be spread not only in the financial institutions, but in other organizations such as in civil society. The Institute for Women should also share in their social media what programs were available. So that were the main conclusions. This problem is multifactorial, so we would have to tackle first the visibility of what is available, and also fight against the unconscious bias, and create these strong networks of mixed men and women, and also only women-led enterprises network that, as Laura also said, that we could share the experience, share business cards, and try to develop our business. So that is all for my part. Thank you very much, because I think this is an important topic and also a shared effort between civil society, private sector, and public sector.
Totally. Thank you very much, Cristina.
Thank you. So I'm Simona. I'm the co-founder of a growth fund focused on Romania named Morphosis Capital. Because we spoke about walking the talk, I wanted to say that even though by design we are a 50-50 female-male fund, we invested only in one company that has a co-founder woman and the CEO. And what I wanted to say is that we need to start from the bottom of the pyramid. We need to grow the ecosystem and reduce the gap in financing early on, because otherwise we'll not have the final later on. We struggle to have woman-led companies at the level of growth capital scale-ups. And the problem is not because the Romanian women don't have the skills. I think it's a complex problem, and gender bias is one of the main reasons behind it. What I wanted to say is that also data is very important, as Lara said, and to add on it, I think setting the right governance is very important, because you cannot enable ENS without governance. And when I talk about governance, I talk about the fact that we need to have a good deal flow, have criteria and KPIs to assess the viability of the startups, and not be only on gut feel and the presentation skills. Sometimes people are better than others. And also, I would like to talk today about the need to have balanced teams. So I sincerely think that the diversity of thought is very important. So we need to have balanced teams, male, female, not go on one extreme, but to bring the best out of both worlds. But how do we break the circle in gender bias? I think an important thing is to have the right role models and promote the right models. I've been recently going to a high school, and I asked the audience to name at least one woman founder. And it was silence. Nobody knew a woman founder, role model. Which brings me to the question, are we really promoting the good models? And are we actually promoting successes? I dream of having here on stage a fire chat with women entrepreneurs that will talk about the challenges and opportunities in raising finance. And the other thing that I wanted to mention in my speech is that we have to do things that are in our control. We can, of course, there's lots to do in the ecosystem, but we need to take ownership as women on our agenda. And we can do this through education and through networking opportunities. We can reduce the gap in financing. Sorry, just a second. Yeah, okay. Thanks. For instance, I would like to mention that when women are pitching, very often they are encountered with defensive questions. What I mean by that, they are asked, how do I know, by their venture capitalist counterparts, they are asked, how do I know I'll not lose my money? But on male pitches, very often they are asked, so how quickly I'll make a ton of money, let's put it this way. So, which puts the women in a very defensive position because they have to ask in a defensive way how to or downside protection mechanisms instead of having a promotional approach to their pitch. And I think what research shows is that if women turn the questions and respond through in a promotional way, they increase their chances by 7 times to get financing. So, an appeal to women to not go into the trap of responding defensively, but go beyond their comfort zone. And I would like to leave you with a thought that we should be authentic in all that we do and truly live our values. We should not compromise as women to fit a stereotype created by men to serve their purpose. Through authenticity and walking the talk, we should manage a giant leap forward in removing the gender bias. Thank you.
So, hello everyone, and thanks for this opportunity to be here. Today, I will discuss in the coming 10-15 minutes about the gender disparity in the equity space and what are the factors that are contributing to those disparities and how could we address them. And so I'm from European Investment Fund. As some of you may know that European Investment Fund is the European Union's fund mandated by European Commission and European Investment Bank, and in order to provide the financing for small and medium-sized enterprises. And as we know, entrepreneurship is the core driver for youth economy. So therefore, supporting them, especially for young and innovative companies with venture capital, is very important. So what we know about the venture capital market in Europe is quite mature, and it's proved to be resilient against so many crises in recent years, and it actually is reached its peaks. 2020 and then later 2021. So it's growing quite fast. However, we see that women are somehow not part of this growth. For example, using the PitchBook data, we saw that women startuppers, innovative companies, women-founded startuppers secured only 2.4% of the overall venture capital investments, and this 2.4% is extremely low, given that we know that roughly 40% of entrepreneurs in Europe are actually women. So why there is so much low activities going on in venture capital when there are so much entrepreneurship from women? So we need to find some ways to find out the factors that are contributing those gender gaps. And for that, we used current literature on access to finance for women and gathered some theoretical frameworks and some empirical evidence to have a better understanding of those factors. So what are those factors? The first most quoted factor is homophilia. So homophilia is the tendency when people, in the literature I mean, is the tendency when individuals associate themselves with other individuals sharing a certain characteristics. So for example, in our case, the gender can be an important factor driving this homophilia. And male investors tend to choose male entrepreneurs. And in this case, the female entrepreneurs are left out because there is an underrepresentation of female investors in investment teams. So that's the first thing. And then second one is network inclusiveness. So very often female entrepreneurs are excluded from the network since they cannot interact with female investors. And we all know how important is the network because that's where the idea and information sharing is happening. So they are by default already excluded from those networks. And the third one is also quite widely mentioned, is the cultural beliefs and then stereotypes that entrepreneurship is considered traditionally masculine and male-oriented. So therefore, when women are pitching their ideas, male investors, and they are the majorities, already undervalue their ideas because they are biased by all those stereotypes. And last to mention is the structural differences between male and female-led entrepreneurs. So I guess it's a bit logical that women start their ventures mainly on the market needs that are covering women, so women market needs, while male entrepreneurs start their ventures to address the needs coming from the male markets, male-oriented markets, and therefore when male invest, and then women-oriented markets are, well, not traditionally anymore, but very often are retail, it's fashion, cosmetics, while male are tech, manufacturing, in construction, and so by definition, we female-oriented and dominated sectors are considered less lucrative. So that's why they are also getting less fundings than males, on average, of course. And another difference is like for male investors and then their investment firms, sometimes it's difficult to understand female markets, and therefore they consider them with that's the associated female markets with lower growth potential. So, and they have already defined their industry and markets, and sometimes female-dominated markets don't fall into those categories. So when they are, they don't extend their pitching invitation to women, they are active in those domains. So therefore, they already from the beginning, some women are excluded from those pitching invitations. Another factor was not only the founders, but the CEOs that was found in the research, that gender of CEO has a very high impact securing funding. And it was even more significant than, for example, getting degrees from top universities and even having the prior successful exits. So which is quite a big result. And then also what Simona mentioned right now, and then we discussed it before this meeting over the coffee, that there was a research done that where the women investors are asked completely different questions when they're pitching than male investors, because male investors are asked mainly promotional focused questions. So how do they see the growth? So what are the potentials? While women entrepreneurs are asked more preventive focused questions based on security, safety, risks. So that puts them in the condition that they feel, I guess, intimidated, and they request lower funding amounts. So that can be also another reasons. A big debate is also about the startup performance, and then what is the gap between the startups founded by male and women. And it's lots of research also gives the different results. For example, one of the research showed that indeed male-founded startups have a higher performance than women. However, when there is female investors included in the pitching and when they choose the companies, this gap completely disappears, which means that female investors have better ability to understand those female-led companies and their views on the market. So this gap is like completely disappeared once we include the female market. So what is our conclusion here? That if we want to address the gender difference in entrepreneurship, we need to address them also on the higher level at investor level, because including more investors at the in the investment teams, including more women in the investment teams, not only increases the female entrepreneurship, but also their rate of success, because they have more abilities. They are placed in a way to detect those successful projects led by women. And what do we have so what is the situation right now, and what's the current landscape, not only in Europe, but in South and Southeast Asia region, because that's our session's topic. What we have found from our service that my team, because I work for a research and market analysis team, is running on a yearly basis, is that it's a survey of the venture capital fund managers that in Europe, more than 50% of investment teams have no females at their investment teams. And this is for South and Eastern Europe. This is even higher. That is 70%. So 70% of investment teams have no women at all. What is about the dedicated gender policy? So it's also like you may expect that if you don't have any females on your board, then you also don't have dedicated gender policy. So indeed, was the result of the survey respondents, that only 13% of investment teams have dedicated gender policy in their team, and 13% compared to, for example, 56% in Nordic countries, and even 64% for France. Also that they don't seem to target gender diversity indicators in South and East Europe region. Investment firms, for example, neither at the firm level, neither at their own firm level, nor at the portfolio company level. And which is also quite low, like 10% of, only 10% of investment firms in this region target gender indicators. So as we saw that there is a lot of gender imbalances, not at the European level, but also and they need to be addressed. But it seems that some countries need this more, some regions need this more than other regions. So what do we do about it at the European Investment Fund? Well, to admit, we didn't have a dedicated programs until last year on the gender strategy. However, we had a few inclusive social impact programs running that was targeted at fostering inclusive entrepreneurship and also inclusive founders. That, of course, the women fell under this criteria. And as you know, that the EIB's business model is based on resources coming from mandators, such as the European Commission, European Investment Fund, and the bank, and member states. And therefore, we follow the European Commission's Commission strategy to foster gender equality in the VC space. And therefore, in last year, in March, InvestEU and European Commission and EIF started a program, InvestEU Gender Smart Initiative. And this and together with the EIF and the European Commission, we developed gender smart criteria. And this gender smart criteria includes that management teams needs to be at least 1/3% of women. Also senior investment teams, at least 40% of female representation. And this investment committee, the same, 40% of investment female representation. So this criteria is helping us to promote more female representation at the investment positions and in investment decision making, and not only in the supporting functions. So European Commission set the target for us that we need to have a 20% of our equity activities complying with this criteria. Well, the good news is that we are on track, and and also trying to also develop in other initiatives related to gender equality in the VC space. For example, we organized last year the Empower Equity event to raise awareness, where also Simona was one of the speakers. And this resulted in a platform, Empower Equity, where there is an information sharing and also information and knowledge and promoting the role models. And I think that this also addresses another issue of networking. So I think that the initiatives and networking events like this one today is very crucial also. So again, thanks for your invitation and then this opportunity to speak here.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining. We'll be moving on, but before starting our first panel and inviting the guests here, I would need some help to change the water for the guests, please. Thank you very much. What I took from starting this conference is very optimistic, that we have the power, the skills, to do whatever crosses our mind, but we do not have the tools yet, or we do not have the resources, or we do not have the connections, or we do not have the trust that we can make it. So from now on, we'll have to see what our guests have to say about this and how can we create space. There is a saying in Romania that if someone throws you out the door, you'll get back on the window. So it will be the same here. Not necessarily that we get thrown out the door, but yeah, we have to do as much as possible to make ourselves seen and have the faith that we are capable of achieving anything that we want, despite the fact that, yeah, sometimes we're looked upon. So the guests from our first panel, I invited them here, please. It's Mihnea, it's Daniela, Margareta, and Laura. So if you hear your names, please join. Our first panel is called Challenges and Opportunities for Women in Central and Eastern European Investment Funds. This means we kind of found out what the situation is all about, but now we want to see how we can overcome them and what we can do to make it better. Now I have a lot of papers and small things with a lot of information trying to keep up with everybody in here. So our guests today are Mihnea Crăciun, Managing Director at Endeavor, who's an organization international networking organization that supports companies to grow at a global level. Daniela Șerban, President and co-founder of the Romanian Investor Relations Association, with an experience of over 17 years in capital market, proudly supporting women in business. Thank you. Margareta Mucibabci, okay, a senior advisor at Public Affairs Solution, a full-service public affairs firm that was established in the US in 1998. Right? Okay. Did my work. And Laura Mihailă, Communication and CX Director at Raiffeisen Bank. I looked up at what CX is before joining this, and I saw his customer experience, if you ever wondered. So I was wondering as well. So welcome, everybody. We are happy you are with us here today. And just a second to pick up my questions, because I have a lot of them. And my first question would actually go to all of you, so whoever wants to answer first, you are welcome. Our first panel will be of 1 hour. If we finish earlier, we'll have a Q&A session at the end of each panel. If not, we will have a big Q&A as well at the end of all the panels. And also that you know that after this 1 hour, we'll also have a coffee break of 15 minutes, so just to know what to expect. Okay, so my first question for all of you would be, why do we have so many challenges when it comes to Romania, when it comes to women-led businesses? And I just want you to give some examples or some thoughts from your own experience in dealing with this subject. So whoever wants to start.
Thank you. Good morning. It's still morning. To all of you, I'm happy to share some thoughts on the topic. We have investigated, and as Lara Tassan mentioned, we have investigated what are the historic backgrounds of gender inequalities, not only in Romania, but also worldwide. And we can rest assured that nobody solved it, ever. So it's still work in progress. But nevertheless, data is hard to find in Romania. And if you look at RECOM data or Registrul Comerțului, you would see very big numbers for women-led businesses, which in reality they are not seen. I mean, maybe they are on the paper, but not really managing businesses, not getting financing. Why women don't get finance so easy for their businesses? Because historically they don't own assets on their name. So when you don't have assets with which to guarantee any loans, it would be hard to get. And of course, when we speak about Romania, we speak about two big gender gaps. It's on time, the time that a woman spends in housekeeping and other social matters, and compared to a man. And then we speak about the power gender gap. Women in control positions, either in economy or in politics. And they are very linked, because if you have to run at 5 o'clock to pick up your kid from the school, you would not have time to do networking, to attend events, to develop your social network. Then we come to solutions. So challenges are very natural to all women worldwide. I would not see them only here. Of course, there are countries that support more equalities, or let's say a balanced care. And in other countries, the social infrastructure is very well developed. You have, I don't know, buses to take your kids to school. You have schools with full board. You have kindergarten until later on. So from this point of view, maybe in some other country, this infrastructure helps women. What I've seen is that we are very driven, and those who want to achieve and to have results in businesses, they really can do. Kids, work, and many others. When it comes to solution, the European Commission has just some simple solutions, events, like one of the today one, mentoring. So it's very important to find mentors, to link and to follow some role models. Last but not least is the financial education, or the entrepreneurial education. And I think coming from the investment world is that you cannot become an entrepreneur unless you have invested, or you were an investor, because it's very hard to manage your business when you don't know how to do it. And we really don't have in Romania entrepreneurial education in schools, maybe in high schools as well. So I finished ASE, Finance and Banking, and I was never told that I can manage my own company. I was always told that I will manage someone else's company. So it's very hard after finishing the high school to really find that drive with my two doctor parents, to find the drive to be an entrepreneur. And it finally happened. And what is also interesting in Romania is that women go into business, go into entrepreneurship after they have a skill, after they have acquired an expertise. So it's much later than in other cases and much later than for men. So usually women go to entrepreneurship after 35, after 40, or when they have the maternity leave. So more or less this is what happened in my case. So I moved to having my own business also around 35 years old after gaining an expertise, so nothing different here. But still supporting public policy is important because, okay, we can change smaller things around us, we can talk to other women, we can team up, and I'm happy to be part of some angel networks of female, and female do care about investments, about financial education. So the path is there, the trend is there, this is happening. The pace and the speed depends on us and depends on each of us, because it's not a must to be an entrepreneur, it's not a must to be in a leading position, but if you want to, you need to have all the resources to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Margareta, I will talk to you actually this time because we just heard about public policies, and I've read that you have expertise in that. What could our state, our government do when it comes to public policy to just encourage women in businesses, and what can we as women in businesses or as citizens supporting women in businesses can do to like pressure the state in this direction to give a thought about what can be done when it comes to this theme?
Thank you very much. Absolutely, that's a really great question. Also happy to be here, very honored to participate in the panel. A few quick thoughts on the leverages that the state has. For one example is something that the state has already rolled out, targeted programs for women. So you have dedicated grants, around 40K, to develop your business as a woman. But there is much more than that, and I think we have to look at the bigger picture and take a step back. So targeted interventions are awesome as long as you couple them with a long-term vision and with a systemic approach. And I would also think about education in general. Daniela mentioned financial education, and this is absolutely critical. But another step back, if we just think about education in general, I think there's some good news in the fact that if you look at the stats, early dropouts in school, there are less women leaving schools than men, which I found to be very good news because we know about the challenges with early motherhood and other issues that the women in Romania were facing. So good news is that women want to stay in school. They want to continue their studies. So we need to encourage that, and we need to incentivize that, because if you leave school, obviously your initiatives and the opportunities will be limited. But at the same time, if you look again at the numbers, women are at risk of social exclusion. I think there's around 36.2% of women being at risk of social exclusion, and the highest number in the European Union. Men are also at risk in Romania, again, a very high percentage, but there's still this gap between women and men. So once again, there's another, I think, big picture number that we need to consider if we want to create targeted policies as supporting women in investing. We need to think about the fact that they need to have at least access to decent jobs to begin with. And an interesting, I think, policy is transparency. So recently at the European level, there's been this law on transparency in salaries being adopted, which I think has a number of years until it will be implemented in Romania. And we know that data is the first issue in general before that basically blocks us from taking action because we don't know exactly where to go. So this kind of data will, I think, uncover and unravel a lot of very challenging aspects that we need to consider. There have been surveys rolled out by European organizations that have found out that Romanian women earn on average 500 euros less than men if we think about the annual salary. So I think this opportunity of first having access to a decent job, to quality education, to build your confidence early on. We need to help women develop their confidence from school, because this is important for delivering at pitches. This is important for accessing funding. This is important for securing a job, and so many other things. And I think this needs to happen at the level of education. I mean, you know, in the family, of course, if it's possible, but also from a state perspective, more attention is needed on these complementary measures.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go on with Laura because, and I'm going to talk about challenges because money is an issue, you know. I mean, we might all have great ideas here, but we have like a plan, we need a plan, and we need the money. When it comes to Raiffeisen, how do Raiffeisen support women in business or in startups? And if I'm a woman with a business and I need your money, what will my customer experience be coming at Raiffeisen?
Thank you for the question. Do you hear me? I think, see if it's I think I can switch the mic. Okay. Thank you for the question. You know, I was thinking, I will get back to your question immediately. I was thinking about your introduction and my naming on the wall there, and the fact that within my naming is this customer experience, rather than, for example, another area that I'm quite overseeing within Raiffeisen, which is sustainability and CSR. And it's funny, you know, because I just realized that this is how my name is, and this is my title, you know, my official title, which is very business driven, right? It's marketing and customer experience, which will get you the bottom line. And that's where pretty much the corporate world is focused. Whereas on the other field that I supervise equally, and I'm quite invested in it, like CSR and ESG, they don't get to, they don't get the honor of being on my business card. So there is a subject when we're talking about women also, and the subject is, what do you put on the agenda? And I think this is where the conversation needs to start. What do you put on the agenda? The practical agenda, the agenda that will deliver bottom line, that will deliver growth, and that will deliver at the end of it, you know, of the journey, also inclusion, also diversity. But it is a topic, when we're discussing money, we are discussing also bottom line. And I think that practicality is something that it's traditionally thought as being a male skewed, but it's not. We as women are discussing about bottom line every day. We as women are very much focused on results, are very practical also, and most importantly, are running quite successful business. So I think the agenda in terms of diversity needs to be quite equally skewed towards a woman that can easily access fund, run a successful business, and be a partner in a business that is successful. Going back to money and going and staying on what's on the agenda, I think traditionally, and if we're looking on statistics both in Europe and in Central Europe, you will see you'll see that traditionally, let's say, or the statistics says that women will go in a majority towards a debt finance, so that means bank, or towards their own funds. That means family or things that they have previously accumulated. They tend less to go to business angels or less to go to venture capitals. Now, as a bank, that's of course something that we are happy to sustain and to finance, and our risk policy are probably quite in line with the risk adversity that we could find within the women panel. That being said, I think in Raiffeisen we have quite a clear, let's say, preoccupation and clear strategy towards finding quite practical solution for women to enlarge their capacity to access funds. And for that, especially for startups and for and even for startups that are willing to scale up, you know that banks do not necessarily encourage, because of the risk profile, this type of financing. So then we do have the opportunity and also the, let's say, economic responsibility to find practical solution also for those type of outlets. For this in Raiffeisen, we have actually a number of program. We have a very traditional and quite famous program. We call it Factory. It is a program that we are actually giving credits to startups. We have launched since last year also a program that is aiming to scale up those startups. And we are happy to say that 30% of those startups that have been financed by Raiffeisen were women-led. Now, 30% is not a big number. 30% is something that I'm a marketeer. I can sell it to you as being inclusive. It's not enough. So what we did starting this year was we were looking on sector and segments where actually women tend to get more challenges, for example, in agriculture. And we have been quite a big supporter, and we're really trying to let's say, support and develop this program that is called EVA, Empowering Women in Agri-Food. And because we believe that the more practical solution for women we could put out there, in which women-led businesses, women-led startups could actually find outlets of education, of networking, but also clear financing path, the more we will be able to actually give them a helping hand in developing that. So pretty much this is how Raiffeisen has supported the, let's say, practical route to take money from men most of the time. But another angle that I would underline, and I will leave you with this thought, is the fact that it needs both ways. It's not only about how we finance startups, but it's also how the investment funds are looking on the sectors and the sectors that are creating opportunities of growth. For example, in our investor capital fund of Raiffeisen, which is called Elevator Ventures, we are keen on looking not only on what are the women-led entrepreneurship, but also what are women target markets, which, by the way, are most of the times tapped by women-led entrepreneurs because of the value of the insight. It's quite hard for men to really get the nuance for this type of target, but this is a huge market, and women are representing quite a huge market. And within this logic, our investment capital fund has actually identified something that is very fashionable these days, and is called femtech. I don't know if you ever heard about it. There are companies that are actually have technology at core, but they are looking very closely in how they tap women health or women wellness type of insight or type of problem definition. So I think there are various angles that you can look, both from from the grassroots of how women entrepreneurs could be nourished and could be supported, but also from, let's say, more top-down, where capital flows, how investment is being done, and how we assess the opportunity on certain markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mikina, now a question for you, being the male in our panel, but not because of that. I'm wondering if Endeavor, or maybe how many businesses led by women did Endeavor backed up recently, I don't know. And what are you looking at as a company when you are deciding to support businesses led by women?
Thank you very much. I'm in a bit of a minority here, but I'm actually happy to do it, and I'm actually happy to be in this position.
We're all in the same boat, it's fine.
Exactly. So I very much relate to the topic. Going back a little bit to, and I've done my own research about what we are doing globally, and because we are an organization that we are embracing diversity and inclusion, and not only gender balance, but of any type, we are, interesting enough, some conclusions about how we come across. Most of the 42 markets where we are present are led by women. If you look at the geography, almost all Latin America is led by women managing directors. Interestingly enough, almost all Africa is led by women directors. Also Middle East, so places where you would not traditionally expect that women would lead our offices. Interestingly enough, and embarrassingly enough, Europe is the outlier. And Europe has a bit of an issue. We are in 7 markets, and all of them are led by men. Situation changes a little bit when you look at teams, because there we have twice more women than men working in those offices. So out of the 500 global staff that Endeavor has in these 42 markets, you have twice as many women as men running the offices. Zooming a little bit on what we do in Romania and what we have seen in Romania since we started here 2 years ago is that while there is overwhelmingly the perception that startups are led by men, started by men, founded by men, and represented by men, if you look deeper in the fabric of those startups, you will see almost all the time a woman, at least a woman, in a senior position. When you ask the male founder why isn't the partner or the woman more outspoken, or the answer is an amazing bias. They tend to say they are more focused than us, so I take the representation, and people in the team are doing most of the work, but they are shying away from being represented. And this is an answer I'm getting a lot of times. And what we have started doing is actually we started, in a way, trying to bring those women to the public domain. We've done that in a number of things that we showcased. First was our newsletter in March, which showcased 5 amazing women that, okay, some of them were known, but some of them were totally unknown. But we are also trying to bring to our selection processes and to bring to our mentorship classes, because most of the things that we do is actually we put startup founders in contact with global mentors that otherwise those founders would not have access to. We try to bring the women in the mentorship calls, and then we see something interesting because our mentors are, they have been there, they have been aware of all these biases, and obviously, like the network, the mentors are keen to promote diversity. We see the women shine more than the men. You have the founder, who's a man, and the co-founder who's a woman, and then you have the mentorship calls with both of them, and then you see the woman outshining the male. And then you say, we must be doing something right if this is happening. So going back to your question, we have selected 2 businesses in Romania so far, and we're working with another 5 or 6 to select over the next 12 to 18 months. I'm happy to say that we also have a woman co-founder amongst the 2 businesses that we have. And this is Andreea Plesha from Druid. But also I'm very happy that in the pipeline, in the more immediate pipeline, we have 3 businesses that are co-led by women, and one of them also, is the CEO and the main founder. So we attach a lot of weight to this, and we want to do more here, and this is why we have recently teamed up with Hacker. And we're keen to actually do more in this space, and I'm also welcoming Ilinka's Brava Angels, which is, and I was thinking that, women shine in angel groups which are more egalitarian in a way, rather than, unfortunately, investment funds which promote a certain, I'm saying it, macho culture. And it's probably, we need to do more of the things that you're doing here, and we need to support you more in doing these things to balance things a little bit more. Fortunately, Romania, if you look at the statistics, has a better situation than a lot of European countries. I'm showcasing Spain, but I'm also humoring you and basically confirming what you're saying. We've recently done a study on Spain, together with Google, in which we realized that Spain is actually a laggard in terms of how much women are promoted and how much they manage to fundraise. And it's interesting enough, when you ask the Spanish ladies to tell why, it is mostly because the communities tend to be male-driven, or to be started alongside, various traditionally male activities. So that's why the women tend to fall somehow outside of those areas. And it came out anecdotally in the study that, to get access to communities, to get access to great mentors, you need to be part of those communities. And what do you do if the gatekeeper is a male? So, we are very much aware when we try to change what we are seeing.
What do you do if the gatekeeper is a male?
But some of the things you can actually do is try to see whether there is a bit of a confirmation bias there, or is just, it happened to be like this. But it is also, it's a two-way street, because one way for us is to be promoting equality and the gender balance. The other thing is I think, women need to take their case seriously, and which they do, but they need to do even more. Because then if you combine all those push and pull things, you get to the best potential outcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Margareta, I have a question for you, but first of all, I have to ask you if the public affairs solutions, so the firm you're working for, is involved in the Romanian politics.
No, there's a difference between what we do and politics. So we provide public affairs and government relations services, and we understand the politics and the dynamics in Romania. We understand the legislative process, but we're not involved in politics.
Okay, I will ask it anyway because it's like around there. I'm wondering if the political zone, whatever government you say it, ever think of this topic, or thinking of including it or making it priority, because we were talking at the beginning, and it's the case in Romania, that we do not have many women in politics, you know. So if it were for public policies to also include women, then you'll have to have more women who understand women, and you see where I'm going. So I'm wondering if, from this point of view, sometimes you have clients that come to you and say, Margareta, what can we do to include this more in our, I don't know, plans, public policies, so on and so forth?
That's such a difficult topic.
I'm sorry.
But it's a very important one. And I've also attended recently an event dedicated to women in power and politics, obviously being one of these places. And the reality of Romania is that we're not in a good place at all. Historic low levels in terms of representation. We're doing better in parliament and at the government level because, you know, the numbers are different. But I think there is increased awareness right now at the general population level that this is becoming an issue. So maybe to some extent, if people become more involved from a civic perspective and understand that having women as representatives will only lead to developing more inclusive and diverse policies that have a 360-degree angle will benefit the entire Romania, I think that would be an extraordinary achievement. But I don't think that's easy to do. There's still some historical bias, and there are some old paradigms and mentalities in politics, in society. So it's an ongoing process that we all have to, I think, participate into and become involved. From younger generations, we might be surprised because they are more vocal. They tend to also organize in associations. There's been recently an association formed for professionals in public administration. So having such forums where the topic of diversity and of women will, come on the agenda, I think it will help raise awareness and at some point, move the needle in this space. But I think it's pretty clear that we have so much to learn here. I wanted to add something regarding the financing ecosystem because I think it's important to keep in mind in terms of targeted policies. There are also countries such as the U.S. where you have fiscal incentives for women-led and minority-led businesses. So and this goes back to the first question that you asked me, but now I had time to think about the better answer that I could have gave. And I wanted to bring it up because ultimately someone needs to put it on the agenda and to think about the realities of Romania and to analyze it. You cannot just borrow something without creating a deep, profound analysis of the Romanian ecosystem. But there are options. So unless there are options available, there are people addressing the topic. I think we need forums to bring these ideas together, and most importantly, and I think this is relevant also for the public sector but also for the private sector, we need networks. As it was mentioned earlier, networks are incredibly important, and maybe at the beginning it's more difficult for women to be integrated in those networks, but this effort is worth making, and we need to contribute to making that happen.
Thank you very much. Now a question for all of you. If at the networking time, during coffee break that will be coming soon, women that are here and might have businesses or might want to start one, will want to talk to you. Now I'm asking for them. How can you support them? So, or the firms, the agencies, the companies that you represent, how can practically support women that might come to you and say, hi, how can I benefit from your experience? What should I do? What do you tell them? So can start whomever wants.
Well, we can do many things together, of course. But maybe the easiest to remember is that I can definitely help you start investing at the stock exchange. And why not later on to list your company on the stock exchange. So this is rather a scale up, but nevertheless, as mentioned in my first answer, is that you cannot become a successful entrepreneur before becoming a successful investor and understanding how money work, what investors expect from a company, how you pick the stocks, how you follow the stocks, how you follow the management. Yeah, that would be, let's say, the popular topic. On the other hand, I wanted to add on what Margareta said, because we cooperated together on promoting the public policy initiative on the Vertica NGO. So it was, I think, the hardest topic ever to promote to politicians. It was like a hot potato. At Vertica, we drafted a public policy proposal in order to assess and calculate the data related to women, and also propose some solutions on how to incentivize more women in the economy, so presence in the economy. Unfortunately, the champion in the government is not there. We started, we were there, we were knocking at the doors, but the topics didn't have yet political traction, and this is the reality.
Why? Why didn't?
And I will explain now how political parties think is that and how they now rearrange their campaigns is that women do not vote. So, for example, historically, USR Plus took the highest number of female voters. Now, if you followed, PSD has a big campaign on attracting women and supporting women and so on. And from latest discussion with PNL, I would see some change in PNL as well. Udemere is a case closed from my point of view. Yeah, but let's see. I mean, if women are not present when they negotiate the governmental programs, or they cannot put the topic on the agenda. And if you see, maybe now less, but when I started communicating on the gender diversity, I got a lot of hate in my comments. I wrote editorials because female and male, they see this as a positive discrimination, which is not necessarily a discrimination itself. It's just that when we fight for some power, because it's a fight for power, the impression is that we want to take Mihne's seat, but it's not true. We want to sit next to him. That's the difference. So we want to collaborate. We don't want to be instead of someone. So, for example, now at the end of last year, the European Parliament passed a directive on setting some KPIs and some professional management. So when choosing a board member, you will have to set some KPIs, which will be public, and you will have to apply them or until you reach a gender balanced board, or you need to explain why you didn't choose a woman instead of a man. So, and it's not about replacing men, but it's about enlarging and making boards more professional. Thank you.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah, sure. It's a question for everybody.
Just something real quick. I think due to developments such as the one that Daniela was mentioning regarding the regulatory field, you've all probably seen many events and roundtables regarding sustainability and ESG recently. And I think those topics are a reminder for this older topic that is still, you know, in the bookshelf. But it's a great reminder, and it creates another trigger. So this is what I wanted to add, because I think it's an important connection to make, especially for ESG.
And the question that I addressed, if people, women in the room would want to come to you and say, how could you be of help with my business or whatever, what advice do you have, like on a personal level or from the point of view of the firm you're working for?
Well, I think it depends on the kind of, let's say, support the person needs. I think, you know, mentorship is always something good to consider, especially if it were someone in the public affairs industry. And talking about that, I just learned recently about an initiative for women in public affairs. Really excellent initiative that I was not aware, and it's recent, so this is probably also the reason. And I was invited to speak as a guest at one of their lectures, and just seeing that professionals in this space, which is not as well known as other professions, is still pretty new, and it's, you know, it's changing, was incredibly rewarding for the women in that room. They were young professionals. They wanted to learn about this career path, and they wanted to have access to other women who have been doing this job for a while, to ask questions and to seek for guidance. So mentorship, that would be on top of my list. And if it's something else, maybe an industry that I'm not familiar with, I would probably try to connect them with someone that knows better.
Yeah, thank you very much. The thoughts of Laura and Mihna, and then we'll get some questions from the audience, if there are any. Women will be given the floor to ask first, and no discrimination here, but you know. But it's mainly about them today, so I'm just curious what their curiosities are as well. So back to you, Laura.
I think I briefly touched on this point early in my answer. So if you are a woman and you are searching for financial advice, and if you are an entrepreneur, then you could actually get funds from, like, in forms of a credit, but a far more flexible from a risk policy point of view credit from our program in Factory. If you are specific in agri-food, then you could take a grant investment from EVA program, or if you have any type of startup in technology, then please join our elevator lab, and you can get also finance there. So there's a big spectrum of financing that are actually encourage you to go access, pitch, but most importantly, beyond getting the money, because we always talk about the money, and banks are talking a lot about monies, but in fact, money is just a gateway towards a possibility. And that possibility, and the way and the confidence to tap into the possibility, to understand that you can actually get it, and to understand that it is achievable for you to get that financing, I think it's a longer journey. And from this point of view, I strongly encourage you to go, and I strongly encourage you to apply, because beyond strictly the money, you can get the network, and you can get an entrepreneurial type of education on mentorship, which I believe is valuable for each of us. And if you're neither of a scale-up or a startup or a large company looking for investment, if you're just a regular, let's say, women out there, we do have a program that is very dear to me, which we call Banking One-on-One. It's a basically financial planning consultancy that we offer free of charge. And it's a form of consultancy that embeds financial education. And I believe that, disregardless the gender, the financial education and the way we choose to invest in our personal life, but also in our business, the money that we have, or the possible money that we can get from an investor is probably one of the biggest skills that we need to sharpen in the current period.
That's actually very cool. Question from my part as well. If we
Please.
are not clients with Raiffeisen, can we come?
Yes, you can.
Right.
You can come. You can either apply on our website, and you would book personal financial consultancy with one of our advisor in a branch that you choose, and after that, if you are convinced, then you may become also a client. Thank you.
Thank you. Mihna?
The beauty of being an NGO is that, because we are an NGO, is that the bottom line of the NGO is not that important. I think we care more about the bottom line of the entrepreneurs that come talk to us. And if you ask me what we are doing, I think the message here is very clear. Just come speak to us, talk to us about what you want to do. In Romania, we started looking at businesses which are really early stage because we realized that the work of actually developing the ecosystem is much more important than just focusing on the very few success stories that we have seen so far. So come talk to us about your scares, your failures, fears. Talk to us about what you want to do, and chances are that eventually we will find a way to support. I think I'm not going to focus a lot the investment part, which comes a bit as a cherry on the cake, but I'm going to focus more on finding the right persons that you can speak to within our network and who are going to tell you a little bit with less bias and a little bit more experience probably, what is it that you need to do next.
I like your answer very much because I think this invitation to just communicate your worries, your needs is very valuable. We usually, both men and women, think, well, I'm not perfect. I cannot go and do this and that because I don't have all the answers. But that's the trick, to just, go ask other people and see their opinion.
I'm a former banker turned basically entrepreneur in non-profit. So it doesn't get more challenging than this. And the fear of failure after 20 years of banking, it bites.
Yes, thank you very much. Now I'm asking people in the audience. I will come with the mic if there are any questions. Oh my God, the man is the first one who wants to ask. Hold your horses just a second. Okay, I will come. And please, for everybody to just state your name. But if you're in a business as well, started a business, joining a business, something like that, just tell us. Yes, of course. I'm just, because the women are around you. Yeah, of course, but I'm just choosing to choose the woman first. So who wanted to? I'll give you the chance, no worries.
Okay, I think one of the first things is that we have to align these of male, female, and others. Society is made for all parts, and we cannot advance one in detriment of the other. In terms of leadership, I would like to say that we still have a long way to go, because saying that female leadership is more nurturing is being stuck in the traditional roles as usual. Anyhow, I would really like the opportunity for the International Women Association entrepreneur part that deals a lot with foreign women trying to start entrepreneurship. Usually it's more in the outskirts because of language barriers, cultural barriers, and others. And we would like an opportunity maybe to have this Raiffeisen guidance. That would be really nice to have. And mostly to open the door here to another issue is about education. So if we all look at the root of why we still have in textbooks certain professions just with one gender named, there's still a lot to do. So it was not a question, it was trying to make direct contact, thank you. It was to raise this of what you're doing to change in education, and mostly very happy to have
male and female here, because beyond that, we're just people trying to get our entrepreneurships advancing. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Valentin, and this is a women-dominated event, and there's the topic I'll actually build upon what she said before. I would have liked to hear more about education, first of all, because you care about kids more than we do, man. We all know that. And I personally lead an entrepreneurial education program for kids, 6 to 14 years old, funded by Raiffeisen, by the way, by Factory. But I would like to understand your opinion, everyone's opinion, on how do we not treat, right, apply patches to gender balance, but rather educate from very early beginnings. And what are your companies doing? I know Raiffeisen and everybody else. Thank you.
Who wants to go with the first answer?
I'll just give a very brief thank you for acknowledging us as a partner for your startup development. Now, on kids and on values on kids, I think there is so many discussion for financial education. There is a lot of institutions, Raiffeisen included, banks, that are trying to go in a, let's say, extracurricular effort to install financial education or sustainability education, which is as important as financial education for the future. We at Raiffeisen have quite a lot of programs that tries to do that for schools, even for for kindergartens and for teenagers. And we're doing it via diverse partners like Junior Achievement, United Way, or organization like Ovidiu, which is more focused on responsibility. Truth be said, there are a lot of efforts to be done by NGOs and by companies that can elevate the power of NGOs to reach kids on extracurricular, but there is a topic about putting those type of topics in the curricula in the school. And I think this is pretty much the elephant in the room. And the companies that have the budgets and the firepower to invest on those programs, I think everybody is saluting them, and I'm proud to be part of this organization and to support. But I think there is a discussion there about how the curricula in the Romanian school looks like and to what extent we should put that within the practical curricula about financial education and sustainability topics. And that's, by the way, something that has nothing to do nor with women nor with men, has to do with how a good society would look like.
I hope everyone understood we're not like divided here. We're all in the same. We just say men and women because that's what it is, but we are pulling in the same direction.
You know, funny enough, we're talking about education after 2 weeks of strikes. My kids are at home. For 2 weeks, they're on holidays. They don't want to read anything. They said, we're on holidays. So, you know, what's interesting in Romania is that the civil society and the private institutions and the NGO, they do what the state should do. Even what we are doing with the public policy initiatives on gender equality, on education. So my kids, they follow a state school, but of course they have a lot of other activities in addition to a state school, because it's not enough, and it's not enough to train the kid for the life of today. It's not just about learning by heart, it's about being prepared for a life, and here it's starting with presentation skills, with financial literacy, entrepreneurial education. Some steps were done in the past years with the new law, imposing in the first grades of school some competencies on entrepreneurial education. There are 8 competencies from the European Union, but you have financial education just a couple of hours in 1 year. I mean, kids, they handle money from 5, 7 years. They need to handle money much earlier. And we see when talking with adults, it's very hard to change what you don't really know and you didn't do. For example, saving is super important, and then investing. So these are two basic stuff. And yes, we can do more, but we need to invite government next time to really ask some questions.
Yeah, maybe just some quick thoughts. I think in order to maximize the impact of bringing women closer and youngers closer to their potential, we have to work together and we have to combine formal and informal learning to create this kind of joint effort. Because as Daniela was saying, you cannot learn all these things at school. You have to have also other settings for doing that. So I think the collaboration across, between organizations, companies, schools, this kind of effort is really important. In my past life, when I worked at UiPath, we used to do a lot of these visits. We used to work a lot, and the company still does, to improve the curricula, to raise awareness on the new competences that should be available for everyone, and to create methodologies and things like that. But this is all happening through dialogue. It cannot happen in silos, so you need to think about whether you're a company, who are your partners, social impact partners, who are the organizations that you collaborate with to increase your impact in the community, and of course to think about also the public sector that would be important to join this kind of effort to create either pilot projects or to create best practices that, again, have this multi-stakeholder component. Thank you.
Add the last wagon to the locomotive. Of course, we need to take these public initiatives, work with the state, reform public education and do more. But we are living in Romania, and for the 33 years, we are still seeing changes of the school year every year. So I think it starts with us, it starts with families, it starts with the way we raise our kids. The way we did it, because I only can relate to my situation, is we allow them to take risks, we allow them to try new things, we push them sometimes because they need to be pushed. But we try to teach them not to fear the failure, try several times, because the act of actually, finding your way yourself is probably more important than somebody giving you the playbook and telling you to execute it. So that's. I think it starts with us, and we talk about education. I think before the state has a mission, before the companies have a mission, we have a mission. Execute on the mission, and the rest will come, I think.
Thank you all for your answers. We have one last question in the back there. I give the mic already, and then we'll go into the coffee break.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Sylvia, and I have this concern that I want to share with you, and also it's a question. We've been talking about policy, incentives around equity, diversity, and the question is, when it comes to policies, to corporates, and even politics, how do we make sure that the topic really stays on the agenda with the right, focus, with the right terms in a comprehensive way, and not becoming diversity washing or, being derailed for the strategic perspective that it deserves. Thank you.
Well, I would say that it's already an achievement that we're not talking about this topic in March only. So it is already June and we are still talking about that. So that's a beginning. Then we need to educate ourselves on the terms because it's very easy to go into gender equality and speak about being equal to men, which is not true. So what we want equal chances to opportunities, which is a nuance, but it's very important because when you not you, but us or others, they are not hear as well, or they don't know the terms, they think that we want to be equal to men, which is not true. We want to have the infrastructure needed, we want to have the resources needed, and still remaining women. So I think this is also important. So we need to keep our roles, our feminine, our dresses, because that's our beauty. If we all become equal, I don't believe. I have twins and they are not equal. So one is blonde, one is ginger, one is this. So they are not equal even if they are twins. But cannot be equal to men. So educating, speaking about the topic, speaking to wider audiences and involving new people every time, politicians, why not? In order to keep traction. Because if the topic will keep traction, then some politicians will jump on the topic too. Thank you.
I do have one thing that I'm a big believer in. If we cannot do it with the carrot, we can always do it with the stick, but not in the sense that there is an opportunity that I see in the something that most of companies, especially in corporate world, fears because it's quite heavy work, and that are the ESG and sustainability reporting that at least for large corporate is starting to become quite a norm. And the beauty of that, on a large let's say rhetoric, but also for diversity topics, is that it actually does one thing for companies. It kind of forces you to stay on a topic. It forces you to have a very clear set of language and indicators that you will track, monitor, and report. And this, although it is a burden because it involves a lot of resources, a lot of knowledge and know-how to put into and a lot of effort to put into those reporting, the beauty of it is that it creates exactly what you were wondering, how you are doing a framework in which we have the same, the common language and the common indicators, and we're all looking at the same things, and we are comparing and benchmarking against the same values. And honestly, I believe that this is quite an opportunity, although right now, for most of the companies, are either on a large corporate level a burden, or for a small corporates, for businesses are more a nice to have. But I think frameworks and KPIs and reporting and transparency in reporting will normalize the language. And I think it's an opportunity.
Thank you very much. Mihna, anything to add, or that's it? Okay, thank you very much for your questions. Thank you very much to our guests. We ask you to go have some coffee, take a breath of fresh air, and we'll see each other at, I don't know what time. 11:20, because we finished a little bit earlier. And please mingle with everybody, ask questions, take these guys' names, data, everything, and we'll see you in a bit. So as you can see, panel number 2 will take another hour. After this hour, we'll have panel number 3, another hour. So for the next 2 hours, we'll be here. But time flies, so no worries. It's going to be fun as well, just like the first panel, and we'll find out more interesting stuff. The second panel is strategies for achieving gender diversity in investment funds. So how can we make investment funds, among others, more female-friendly, I guess, and what can we do, or what are your suggestions regarding this? I'm going to present everybody, and then I'm going to start with the question I have prepared for each of them, and then, as you could see, depending on their answers, we'll just keep on with the dialogue and see where that goes, because of course they will give very interesting information, which is new to me as well. So I will just pick up on their answers as well and building new questions on that. So we have Alexandra Mucha, an investment associate Central and Eastern Europe at Nest Poland. We have Gabriela Predescu, a lawyer and a general counsel and partner at Axis Capital Partners. We have Marian Haggerty, ambassador at Women in Tech, supporting the Romanian women in tech through networks and learning events. Thank you for joining. And we have Mihaela Ionita, who told me that her actual name is Misha, so we're gonna call her Misha, head of human resources at ING Bank, who's passionate about growing organization by partnering with the business. Thank you, ladies. Welcome. We're just gonna jump directly into our talk today. And let me pick up on my questions. Yes, I'm going to start with Alexandra. Funny enough, all the people I had the first question for were right next to me. And I would want to know what barriers do women in entrepreneurship face in accessing venture capital or private equity funding? And what can we do about it? As women, of course. I will give you my mic.
Okay, so firstly, that's a very important question, and thank you for inviting me in general. But yes, this is a very important issue that we still have lack of women who has this support of investment fund, and this is why at the very beginning, we still have lack of women who are leading the businesses. So we need to change that point, and after that, we can have greater support of that. That's for sure. So to do that, firstly, I would say we have one very big issue that we still in investment funds, in VCs, there are still mostly only men. We have like 90% of the VCs, people who are managing and making decision, they are men. So we have around 10%, and this number is from CEE in general. So it's not only Poland or Romania, it's just a number for our region. So as you saw on this panel before, or in this previous speakers, they said that men are choosing men. Women are choosing women. So this is something that I would say this is the biggest barrier. Secondly, as we all know, females are stereotypically are made for raising a child and housekeeping, etc. So this is also a change of mentality, which is still in progress, and we need to spread awareness that they can do it and they can earn money and be independent financially, etc. And those are the biggest barriers that we see. And I'm representing the investment fund who is focused on social impact. So we are really looking for those who are led by women or who are from. We are looking for SMEs who are supporting marginalized groups. So for example, young people at risk, or people from people with disabilities, or refugees, minorities, or people from LGBT plus communities, and of course, women. So, so this is what we are doing, and we have in Central and Eastern Europe, we have more and more impact funds. I think there is a change of thinking, but it's still a process.
Thank you for your answer. My next question is still for you, because it's interesting. I read that Nest works with people from vulnerable communities, and you just mentioned those. And it's quite amazing to me to find out that women are considered to be a vulnerable community. What does that mean? That a woman is in a vulnerable community? Because I want to see if women here identify with being part of a vulnerable community, or you're talking about something else, and now we'll find out about what.
Yes, so firstly, we're taking into account all women. So we just want to still equalize the positions and the challenges, not the challenge, yeah, the options that they have, they can have. So that's the first point. That's the first point. Women in general, but there is also this deeper. If we go into deeper point of that, is that we are looking for women who are, for example, I don't know, have any problems with, I don't know, they had any aggressive partners, or they live in rural areas, or I don't know, they have only raising the child without the partners. So this is this kind of group that we are also looking for.
Thank you very much. Gabriela, my next question is for you, because in the first panel, people were talking about investment funds being led mostly by men, so they're taking the decision. And someone was saying that there are different politics right now that are trying to get 50-50 when it comes to women and men in investment funds, so the decision is more equitable, more or less. What's your experience with this part? And when it comes to gender diversity in investment funds, what's the situation from your point of view, and how can we improve the situation?
Well, looking at your questions, thank you for the question. The questions that you asked were very relevant, I thought, but they were a bit ahead of our time, at least in Romania. So to be able to answer them would create a very long year.
I don't know, you to switch the button, it was supposed to, yeah, just go up with it.
Here. It should work. Okay. The other one was the same. Anyway, so, can you hear me? Like this?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So I was saying that to answer truthfully to all the questions that you asked would create a very low mood here in the room, because the situation has improved much since I joined the private equity field back in 2005, but we are still lagging far behind any sort of fairness in this industry. So to go back just a little bit, I started in 2005 as a lawyer, and I made partner in 2011. I was lucky enough to start in an organization which was funded by the American government. It was the Romanian American Enterprise Fund. I think it was the first enterprise fund, investment fund, which was active in Romania, and women were well represented, even at the level of investment officers, but not as seniors, let's say. Right now, I go to meetings and I meet women, and I'm very happy. And there is at least one different face every time. But for at least 10 years, there was only one woman. Her name was Emma Poparadu. She was the country manager for Advent, and she was the only one. The rest were men. Right now, I think the situation is much improved, and it will continue to improve, because the biggest investor in Romania, the biggest investor in private equity, is European Investment Fund, EIF. And EIF has included last year in its criteria for selecting fund managers the gender criteria. So having 30% women as part of the investment team is a criteria which brings the fund manager a better chance of being selected by EIF and therefore benefiting from the funds awarded by EIF. Moreover, being in private equity, I was faced many times with this question, you know, when hiring a new investment officer, well, investors would like to see a man. So, you know, it's quite the opposite of what we're discussing today. This is what we were told. So we need a serious man, an older man, with lots of experience, which would present credibility and which would show that investors that we could grow, not a woman.
How do you answer to such a remark?
Well, there was no answer, to be honest. there was no answer. And I think the reality is that the answer is a bit split. We live still in quite a patriarchal society, supported both by men and women in Romania. Women are still, the vast majority, not educated to become leaders, to start their businesses, to become CEOs, if you want. They are rather being taught to educate themselves, get a job, support the family, but at the same time have a family and be burdened with caring for the family more than men do. And this is the reality of our lives. My life, I have 2 children, my colleagues' lives. In our organization, as I said, we were lucky. There are 2 other partners which are present here. One of them is Daniela Iliescu. She was the CEO of Patria Bank, which is one of our investments. And she has handled a very difficult task of conducting a merger between 2 bad banks, let's say, which she did successfully, and then she handed over because she's an investment officer. She's not supposed to be the CEO, but she took on this challenge. And the other one is Eugenia Vasiliu. She's the chairman of the board of a waste management company, a company dominated by men, if you want. In which she's, considering the challenging times that we live in, she's quite successful. So as I said, we are lucky to have started in a fund manager which was designed from the beginning to include women as well. That being said, researching a bit for this event today, I asked my elder son to show me some statistics. And, he sent me some materials, and reading them, he said, I feel very sad. He said, look, what I'm seeing here is just 2% of venture capital funds are going to women funds. To women targets, and 5% of the funds are going to companies co-founded by women. So it looks like no matter how much they try, they will still face this challenge of being a woman, because women, obviously, they're 50% of the population that cannot be that much dumber than men, The fact is, male investors tend to invest more in male-led companies, whereas if you find senior investment officers, and I underline the senior part of the phrase, you will see that they tend to invest like double in women-led companies. It's a matter of educating the, children. I recognize and I appreciate the efforts of the NGOs, of the people trying to implement public policies, because I think the change in Romania has to start from the top to bottom. The bottom now, with the young generation, looks much better than with our generation. So again, I'm hopeful.
Thank you very much for your answer. Marian, I was reading something yesterday saying that 91% of tech investments, or money for tech investments, are go to men. I think it was worldwide. It wasn't for Romania. So you must be working with what's left, the 8% more or less. I'm just saying that on a worldwide level. I want to tell us about a little bit about women in tech, and what do you do? How do you support women in tech with this? Because in the first panel, I think someone was telling that the femtech is going big. So I want to know a little bit more about this and what does it mean.
Yes, so first, femtech and women in tech are 2 different things. Women in Tech is a global association, so we are an NGO. We are present in more than 40 countries now. The NGO was born 5 years ago in France, actually. there is no direct link. Direct link. It's more like a coincidence because the founder is Brazilian Japanese. So she lives in France, married to a French guy, and so she founded this association, this NGO, with an ultimate objective target to empower 5 million girls and women in tech by 2030. So this is the objective. So we still have 7 years to reach the objective. And the idea was at that time, looking at the statistics, and even worse in France than in Romania, because if we look at Romania today, I mean, we are one of the countries in Europe that have the more ICT professionals, women. I can talk, I'm myself working in the tech for banking industry, and I have 50-50. I mean, I have the parity. It was not an objective. It was not a KPI. It just happened on skills selection. So, I mean, when we recruit, we are looking for the best people, especially in our perimeter in the banking industry. And this is how it happened. So we are very proud. I'm very proud of this. And this was also the beginning of the stories. Looking at all the amazing people that I have in my team, women that are so good in computer science, that have so many ideas, so much leadership, a bit shy sometimes, I have to say, but this is the idea, to empower. And I thought, okay, so let's show in Europe, let's show to the world that Romania is an example to follow on this aspect. And let's put Romania on the map, showing that computer science is a choice among Romanian teenage girls choosing studies. So, women in tech. Basically, we are part of the strategy. We are a strategy by itself, basically, because what do we offer? We offer events, we offer trainings, we offer educational programs, events, global events, but also local events in the different countries where we are present. And we offer an ecosystem. So we welcome everybody, not only women, by the way. We are friends with everyone that is friends with diversity. And we welcome all the women in tech. So we are an ecosystem. We welcome women investors. We welcome investors, fund managers. We welcome women in tech, I mean, women in computer science, we welcome startuppers. I mean, this is the idea, to have an ecosystem, to exchange, to bring a safe environment for women to feel empowered, to learn, to network, to learn about different practices in hiring with inclusivity, for example, how to do that, how to be an ally. We also have all these discussions with men, so how men can be allies, what makes a man an ally in our society today, in our working environment, and so on. So someone that will always teach the other men how to behave when they say something that is not appropriate at all about women competencies, or all these remarks that we all have heard at least once, for sure. And especially in IT, I mean, I hear bad jokes still very often.
What's
to be
a
honest.
bad joke about women in IT?
But you cannot understand.
You cannot understand. It's something that...
No, I will discuss with the tech lead or this kind of things, I mean. So the idea is to offer this safe environment, and we are collaborating with angels, female angels investors. For example, we organized 1 month ago today, a hackathon with Brava Angels. It was an idea of Ilinka. When we discussed the first time together, I told this story already, sorry for those who heard this already, but when we met, we discussed, okay, what can we do together? You as a group of female investors and helping startups, female funders, and us women in tech. So what can we do concretely to make a bridge and to be visible? Because this is also visibility. Huh? We are very often invisibilized, and this is the problem. So we have to take the place, and we never give up. So we organize this hackathon, so pairing female startup founders and gender balanced teams. The idea was not only women, not gender balance, because diversity is a plus. We all know that now. It has been said enough time already. And a competition. So they worked together one day, and there was a pitching competition, and we gave prizes and so on. So this is this was the concept. So this is the kind of events that we organize to empower women in tech in general, as an ecosystem, as a community.
Thank you very much. Misha, I'm going to ask you, just like I asked the prior panel for Raiffeisen, what is ING doing to support women-led businesses? I know that you are very tech-driven as well as a bank, because I remember the beginnings of that and the transition, and many things didn't work in the beginning to everything. And then I couldn't find people at the desk when I was going to ING's because they're all in the computer right now. But leaving this aside, what is ING doing to support women-led businesses, and what is what is your vision about it?
Look, I was, listening very careful, and I realized how fortunate I am, to be very honest, since I'm working in a company with 60% women in leadership positions. So to be precise, 218. We are women in key positions. We have, the only CEO women in top 10 banks. And I'm grateful for this. And I think, just judging on my experience, I'm in ING since January, so I'm the new kid on the block. But I would say that the value of diversity, it's what I'm experiencing, a lot. And I do believe that putting diversity at the table, be it men, women, different ages, different opinions, different views, it actually multiplies the output of the teams. Yeah, so that's the biggest value that I see in diversity. As an HR, I'm HR there. Yeah. Now, I always say that, you have to take care of your employees so they take care of your customers. And the culture we shape in ING for sure reflects on how we treat the customers and how we go about, a customer, and in whom we help, yeah, on the other side of the desk. Inside the company, indeed, first of all, what we don't measure doesn't exist. So we measure diversity. So we look at these numbers of women versus men, age groups, and so on and so forth. And then we put policies. So we make sure our processes are rightly done and are non-bias driven. Yeah. So this is what we do inside. Now, what we do outside towards our customers. I'm from HR, so I will give you some good news as well, yeah? So I'm here with the good news as well. As we know, the life is hard. We ran a study, actually, Brava Angels with the Impact Hub ran a study for ING. looking at entrepreneurship in Romania and the structure of ownership. And we looked at companies with over 10,000 RON as turnover for 2022. And surprising enough, 47% of those have women in the ownership structure. Only 1 out of 4 are 100% with women ownership. And it turned out that actually these companies produce, in terms of profit, twice as a company which is fully led by men. So there must be some magic there, you know, I was thinking with my HR head. All in all, I think the first step is good that we look into this and we do studies and we look into numbers. And I think that's number one. I mean, have numbers, have insights, judge, make some judgment based on numbers. And then second step, as I think we do for our employees as well, is education, and many of you said it already. We have to educate, we have to raise awareness, financial education. We are lacking in Romania. My kid asked me the other day, what's the use of going to school if we don't get any practical skills, you know, to run our lives after we finish the school? I mean, sad, but it's a fact. So education is number one. I think we are responsible in our organization to drive it. We are responsible to drive it with our customers. And what ING would soon start, and we'll communicate about it, is a mentoring program for women in entrepreneurship in our business banking domain, which is the area in ING which deals with entrepreneurs, with businesses. We have 43% businesses led by women, yeah? So we have a pool to start from and to extend it.
Yeah, great
I hope
news.
I answered the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. My next question is for everyone, so you will be able to answer however the one you want, what order. I was thinking about what Gabriela said, that many investment funds are making changes because somebody outside says, guys, you should be making changes and improve the situation. Is it a directive from EU or some sort of thing? But how can we make changes because we feel we should make them, so from the inside, not because somebody else from the outside is telling us? So if we have to deal with investment funds led by men, but there are some women around there as well, what it can be done so the things shift from the inside? So maybe as a woman in an investment fund, even if you're not, but just put in this role, how would you approach it? What would you do to change this mentality from the inside, not because somebody from the outside says? Probably that's where it will work fastest, because that's why we get directives, because it's easier to just implement something someone says. But if it would be the other way around, what would you do?
I can propose something. We talked about it, but the KPIs are fundamental. I mean, we need to measure. So if we have a KPI like saying, okay, we want to grow the place of a woman in our investment fund, we need first to say, okay, so what is our objective? Let's reach 30%, 35%. Let's put it on the paper. Let's measure today, and let's see in 1 year where we will stand. So first we put it on the paper. If everyone does that, I mean, we will have a huge result to look at in a few months. I was looking on some events, for example, it can be also applicable on the events like this. For example, if we have tech conferences and so on, if you look at some programs, you will see that 85% of the speakers are men. Okay, so next year, okay, let's target 30%. And in the companies, if the marketing directors that are also looking at the KPIs and say, okay, when we have speakers in public events, let's target 35-40% of women. So let's see, okay, who could share expertise on this topic and this topic. You are not ready in speaking in public speaking. Okay, so let's train. Next year you will go. And so KPI for me is the key. So the key element, and then safe environment again. So mentoring, okay. So there was the chairman of the European Startup Network in our summit 2 weeks ago in Paris, Women in Tech Summit. He said one sentence actually that had a big upload at the end. He said, women have enough mentors. Now what they need is money. It was very interesting. I mean, because yes, it's true, like mentoring, of course, is fundamental, but then money, and we see the figures and so on. And he also said something else. He said, let's propose some external solutions. So from the state, for example, tax exemption for women investors. So the money they will invest in a business will be tax exempted. Why not, after all, if we want to motivate? It could be a solution. Another solution would be also to give tax exemptions to, or not give tax exemptions to funds that are biased. It could be also a solution. So yes, so this can be external, internal, so safe environment and KPIs.
Thank you very much. Is anybody, yeah?
I just wanted to add that from my perspective as an investor who is focused on social impact, we found out that it's women-led businesses are more focused on the impact, on the social impact. So we can see that they have better sensitivity for other people, and they can find, they can create better environment for the workers, so they can manage this diversified environment, which is proven by my colleague here. You have the company led by women, and you can see that it's 60% women in the company. So I would say that we also see that in the companies that we meet, that this is also a big value.
So venture capital impact investing is a bit different than private equity. I think change should come naturally, and change comes when the society as a whole is prepared for the change. You cannot force it from the inside. You can just, move on. Leave and then start your own company if the blockade is still there. But normally when the society changes and the change also comes from the top, women feel more empowered and more entitled to occupy these positions, and eventually that will happen. As you're saying, in venture capital you see more and more women than we see in private equity. Private equity has usually larger tickets, and it addresses to larger companies which have a greater potential of growth over a longer period of time. And what we found, at least in Romania, in 18 years since I've been with this fund manager, we only invested in 2 companies which were co-founded by women. Both of them very well known. One of them is Bitdefender. Mrs. Mariuca Talpeș, who is very much involved and also has an educational project which is still ongoing. And another company called Domo, which does not exist anymore, but it was a very large electronic retail company, which was co-founded by Susanna Zarvadi, which was also very much involved. Other than that, I would say maybe in healthcare, you see large companies founded by women, MedLife and Polisano are 2 examples. You don't find that many companies led or co-founded by women, at least, where to invest as a private equity.
Michelle, do you have anything to add?
Reflecting of what you just said, For sure, there are not many. I mean, we know this, yeah. But I was thinking, what if these very few, which are a success story on their own, would tell more about their stories, you know? I mean, the power of storytelling, I think we should, you know, use it more and somehow bring this into open. And now, you know, I'm hearing you here and I take some lessons for myself, even from ING. Why not to have a program in which we take, you know, from the company these success stories of women who made it, yeah, with hardship, and put them there, you know, for others to be inspired of, because it can be done, yeah.
And our women community, women in tech community will come to these events, definitely. But role models are fundamental.
Well, there are not enough role models as women, at least in the business community. I mean, we have Mrs. Mariana Gheorghe, who's CEO of Petrom, which was very involved. We have Mrs. Talpeș, who is still very involved. But other than that, I would say that women do not assume this mentorship role as much as they should for other women, because this is very important for little girls, for young students, for young entrepreneurs to see that other women have made it and they have families and they have successful businesses, and they take on this role of teaching the skills of balancing your, you know, private life and business life and still being able to make it.
Why aren't they more present in the role of models?
Can you repeat?
I wanted to know, why is it that women, like the ones that you just named, aren't more involved in being role models, and why don't we see them more from this point of view? Like, if we look on Instagram, we know what most of us see when it comes to women, right? It's great, but it's not only that. So, yeah, I'm just curious why they don't want to, they are not allowed to, are they preoccupied with something that's more important to them? What's your opinion on that?
I think there is a stereotypical way of presenting women in the media which does not help. I think people want to, if you look at these TV shows, you know, Lions Arena or something, you see mostly men there because they believe women are not interested. Women do not pitch. I don't know who I heard today that they're trying to find a woman for a board position and no women applied. Not that they're not capable, not that they're not able to do it. They just don't believe they can get there. So.
I understand. Thank you for your answer. Marian, you said something at the beginning regarding the fact that you help, or the organization helps help men become allies. How do you do that? What does it mean? And what do you do to educate or help men become allies of women and talk to other men who can become also allies?
And now, yes, okay. So how to so first identify your allies, first thing. So who are your allies? Who are I mean, me in my career, for example, I had so much allies. I mean, the managers, colleagues that really put me on because we were talking about solutions. And for example, pairing, so in terms of mentoring, sponsoring, so having allies that will sponsor you in terms of opening their influential network to you. So they will put you on the scene, they will put you in networking sessions, they will introduce you, and they will show the trust and so on, and show your competencies and all your skills and so on. So this is typically what an ally does, and allyship is educating the others also, other men and women as well, because we can also be the ones that is shooting in our foot. I think you have the same expression in Romanian. So it is very important, but to identify them, and then for them to continue, but to open the doors, to support, to pair, to sponsor, and so on, to put you on the scene. So this is what an ally can do.
Thank you. It's interesting how people can, or men can have access to the kind of things that you're doing. They can have access to this, to this,
to our events. Yeah. Yes, of course. Okay. Everyone is welcome. So we don't have events now until September. Yeah. We do a pause. We are all volunteers. I want to. It's important to remind. So we all have jobs, and we are doing it on the side. And we have also. We were talking about education. So it starts at home with our own daughters and sons, of course. So this is the first thing. And then in terms of educational programs, so we also propose educational program in schools. I was thinking, so here, for example, we will start in September a program that is very turned to tech and science, so to motivate teenagers or girls to pursue studies in STEM. So science, technology, mathematics, and computer science, of course. And but I was thinking, yes, why not to start also an educational program on women in tech business? Because definitely this is also what we need. So it starts at home, it continues in schools, and then during our events. So this is what we do. We have panels, conferences all over the world, and we network big time. So this is very important, to be very comfortable with networking. Not to ask yourself question, should I go there? I'm scared, who will I talk to? How to start a conversation and so on. No. In our events, it's completely natural. You look at someone, you ask the name, what do you do, and so on. Networking is fundamental, because this is how we learn and we grow, by meeting the others and sharing experiences.
Not sure how many young investment professionals are in the room, but the Romanian Private Equity and Venture Capital Association is also running educational programs for young professionals, both men and women, because we are all friends and together in this endeavor. Throughout the rest of the year, structuring, valuation, negotiating, an SPA, learning how to identify weaknesses and strengths and how to work with them. So if anybody is interested, Ropea is hosting a lot of events in collaboration with its partners until the end of the year. From educational standpoint, I think we are all starting to develop programs for young professionals or people who strive to become professionals to help them, achieve their goals.
Thank you. Before asking my last question for all of you, and then letting the audience with some questions, because time flies. I just sit here and now I'm like, oh, it's ending. Something very interesting that you all mentioned, educating kids, but I would mention that education goes on for life. So we grew up in certain societies at different periods of time, right? And we were raised in a certain way, in a certain culture, with the biases from our parents, so on and so forth. So, becoming an adult, from my point of view, is a matter of education, re-education, continuous education. I mean, it's important to get educated, but to also get auto-educated. When you feel that you've got, I don't know, biases towards certain people, that you think that your own opinion is legit, that the way you see the world is the only way the world should be, maybe you should ask yourself some questions about what you believe in. Is there more to see? It's not a matter of believing. You just should open your eyes to what else is there and listen to other people, because it's not about what you think and what you think your opinion is regarding different things. It's about listening, actually listening to others. Because I usually, I don't know, see adults saying, my kid should be learning this and that. But what are you still learning as an adult? Are you learning? Is something that your kid could see that you're still doing to improve yourself? Maybe yes, maybe no. My last question for you is just like in the first panel, to please tell the people in the audience if they would come to you during the break and ask for help, any kind of help, what is it from your side to offer as an advice or, I don't know, concrete help? And yeah, you can answer however you want. Not necessarily with you, but I guess
Okay, so if you're leading any companies, it doesn't matter from which sector, and social impact is important to you. Please come to me or find me on LinkedIn, contact. We can always talk. We are supporting SMEs from Central and Eastern Europe. For those who are really impact is important. We have, of course, some criteria as an investment fund, but we can always see if there is something that we can do together. And our tickets are from 100k euros to 800k euros. And I encourage you, you can contact me, really.
As a digital bank, yeah, besides famous Maria, you know Maria? Does it ring a bell, yeah? Who is an artificial intelligence, speaking the language of one of my colleagues, by the way. We have, branches, we have relationship managers. We have always somebody at the end of the line willing to help and willing to understand your context, yeah? So to offer relevant answers and relevant solutions. And of course, we have, 2,500 employees who are working for our customers, and I'm sure somebody knows somebody, from ING. So the power of networking, is important, as you also said.
Now, yes. On my side, you can come to me if you have any question about women in tech, what we want to propose in Romania, what our plans. Even if you are not in tech and you are curious and or you want to reconvert, because this is also one of our mission. We propose and we motivate and we empower women that want to reconvert in tech, because it's possible. We need people, and diversity is important. So if you come from another background and join in tech, you add also another diversity, which is very important. It was my case. I've been working in business development and communication for 15 years, and then I decided to join tech 6 years ago. A chance was given to me, and now I manage teams, projects, international level. I mean, and I learn every day. Constant learning is very important, is fundamental. And we have so much online that is available. So, yeah. If you are curious about women in tech, I'm here.
Thank you. So if you're a young professional looking to start your own venture capital adventure, or if you're an entrepreneur looking for funding, not necessarily from a private equity or venture capital fund, but also There are other lending programs which, for example, the bank is doing in collaboration with the international financial institution, which are targeting women businesses. Please contact me.
Thank you very much for being here and answering the questions and telling your opinion and your thoughts and your experience. And now we're going to take some questions. We have like 5 more minutes. So the audience, please, if you have any question, raise your hand. I will be running around with the mic to give it to you.
Thank you. As a colleague of Gabriela, I'm Daniela Iliescu. I would like to ask each of the members of the panel individually, what would be their personal advice to a woman pursuing, or let's say asking herself whether to pursue an entrepreneurship career or to, let's say, opt for a safer position, which is that of being part of a team with a man or accepting a male CEO. Because, for instance, for myself, since Gabriela mentioned my example, I think also the courage and daring to move to a different route than the one we are used to is very important. And therefore, my kind question would be to the members of the panel, what would they personally advise each woman in order to have this courage to move into a different direction?
Life is short. As I read on social media recently, our death will be longer than our life. Ilinka. Yes, so if there is something that you really want to do, it's time. Don't wait. Don't wait. I mean, anything can happen from one day to the other. Your life might change by any bad news and anything that could have a lot of consequences. So go, learn, and don't give up.
Well, I would say, first of all, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know your partners, because this is an endeavor which is very rarely successful when you run alone. So you need to know who you partner with. And other than that, I think don't be afraid. I mean, really don't be afraid. You can fail and you can try again. You can always get a job in a corporation, you know, if your adventure as an entrepreneur or as a fund manager is not successful. But it's better to try, you know, this is an old saying, but try and fail and at least learn from your failures and fail better and don't give up. I mean, really, don't give up. There's nothing to lose.
I would ask a question, and that question would be, if you look at yourself 10 years from now, what would you say to yourself regarding to the decision you have to take today? And you'll know the answer. That's number one. And then if I may offer an advice, that would be, we are not superwomen in the sense that we do need also help. And I think it's our responsibility to create a support network. Yeah, we have kids, we have families, we have many roles to play and to juggle with. We have strength, we have development areas, we are not gods. Yeah, so think smartly. What type of supporting network you would need in order to follow your dreams and go for your dreams, because the answer, you know it. It's in you. You know it. Just go.
Okay, so I would just add, if you're really passionate about it, you really live from that, and you feel that you would like to do it for the rest of your life, then you have to do it, and you need to believe in yourself. And not everyone will believe in you, but not everyone has to. You need to find the right people to invest in you and believe in you. And also, as my colleague said, you need also support and good partners and teams. So, yeah, and you go, girl.
Girl power.
Go girl,
Girl
you know?
power.
Go girl.
Okay, so if we have another question, please raise your hand and I'll be happy to come with my mic. It's not mine, but I'm just saying. Okay, if that is all, I thank you all very much for being here. We will not have a break now. We'll go to the next panel, but soon when we will have lunch, please stay around. If some of the women here will still be around, you can talk to them, ask them stuff that you want to know. If not, pictures, where are their names? Pictures, and just try to contact them LinkedIn and otherwise. I'm sure most of them are, especially Marianne Shirley, she's on social media. Cannot be a woman in tech without, or can it be a woman in tech without the social media? No, not possible. Okay, thank you all, and please you can take a seat in the audience. And before starting panel 3 and inviting my guests here, of course, I will please need some help with the water because everybody's thirsty. It's kind of hot in here, right? I don't know. Yeah, maybe, but people drink water. I saw that. For panel number 3, I invite the guests to take a seat in the front row, please. So I'm inviting Ilinka Paun, Ana Bobirka, Sergiu Roșca. Welcome. Yeah, no, I made a comment. Hello. The water will be here. I have a thing with the water. I saw everybody wants to drink, so I cannot start anything unless everybody is well hydrated. I will leave this here. Until the water comes, I will tell you who our guests are because I made some little notes. And I want to briefly present them and then let them tell us more about their experience and what they're doing. Our third panel is case studies of successful women-led investment funds in Central and Eastern Europe. So yay, we're gonna hear about some of the examples that we wanted to hear about. The speakers before told us about some of their businesses led by women that they know about. So we have here, just a second, so many papers. Ilinka Paun, who's a founder of Brava Angels, a community of investors offering investment readiness programs and investments in early stage startups founded by women. So if you are a woman in a business or startup, you can go to her. But I heard her name a lot in the earlier panels because people referred to you quite a few times. Then we have Ana Bobirka, who is a chief investment officer, Central and European Financial Services and mentor of Innovex. I said it correctly? Close, but we'll make it clear during our talks. It says it's one of the leading innovation accelerators in Europe focusing on scaling up tech startups, right? Close, okay. And we're getting close. And Sergiu Roșca, a founding partner at Gapminder Venture Partners. I found out a venture capital fund targeting IT software and services startups in Romania and Central Eastern Europe. A lot of IT today here, but we kind of found out why, because it's a good market for IT and tech here in Romania, and a lot of women are also working in IT and tech here in Romania, so here we have an answer. Good. Thank you for joining. I will take it if you want. Yeah, okay. No. Take a seat, take a seat. Thank you. Okay, let's start with the questions. Actually, of course, always. Okay, I have a question for all of you, the first one, and I wrote it down here because it's long. What sort of advice would you give to women entrepreneurs in Romania and in the region seeking venture capital private equity funding? So, if they want to get the money to start their business or a startup, what would you advise them from your experience because all of you are in the field?
To definitely go for it. Should I elaborate?
Yeah, please.
It's a better time than ever before, and I think times are favorable to this type of ventures. So especially because of, as you've heard before, because of regulations, let's say, and the conditions that are attached to InvestEU funds, which would be the new program of the European Commission that is deployed through European Investment Fund. And there are some criteria there for any type of investment fund at any stage, venture capital, private equity, and consequently pressure is coming from LPs, from the investors in these funds. So it's no better time than now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think there are a lot of money, a lot of dry power. There are more and more funds forming in the region and in Europe and worldwide. And I think the quality of the product is very important. And I think you as an entrepreneur, you need to see as many funds as you can possibly see, because you're gonna learn. And at the end of the day, one of them will gonna be ready to invest in you if you have a very good product, definitely. I think what is missing right now is the product, not the money.
Hello, everybody. First of all, great to be here. Great job, Andrea. Keep going. Very honored to be with, let's say, Gapminder and Innovix on the stage. Brava Angels is kind of a new kid on the block, just 1 year ago. But it catches attention probably exactly because it targets this, let's say, underserved market, which is female founders and female investors. And I'm very honored to be on the same stage with the long-term and very successful endeavors. Congratulations to you. I think for a woman to access funds, because I work with many of them, it's not just go for it, because this is, I think, too easy to do, too easy to say, but harder to do. I agree with Sergio, there is money, but how do you prepare your product for it, and how do you network and create a branding for yourself? It's the key. So from my side, it's not just there is money, just do it, because then I would not exist if this was so easy. I mean, Brava Angels is existing because women need a different, I think, approach to funding. They need female investors in the panel. We talked about this earlier. They also need an investment readiness program to help them clarify the numbers, the scalability of the product, and a couple of mentors around to prepare for having investors in your company. Because getting money is one thing, but understanding investors, what they need, the returns, and what to expect going further, brings the clarity necessary to manage their anxieties. So I think this would be my...
But that would be valid for any type of
investor or any type of entrepreneur, no matter the gender, I would say, right?
I would see a difference. If I may add on that, if we have time for this, I would comment on this. I think there is a difference, and it starts with the idea of over-promising, under-achieving versus under-promising, over-achieving. And I think there are studies showing that in the psychologies of even women in any kind of work environment, they tend to feel discomfort in promising or bragging about in a very firm, assertive way about I'm going to do this in the future. It's more, give me a chance and I will prove you were right, or I can prove your trust, right? I'm going to work towards earning your appreciation. And this is very difficult to include in the pitch to the investors, because they want to see you believing in yourself more than they believe in yourself. And I think this is a big difference that I'm trying to, let's say, work with the female founders. Of course, it's valid, the clarity, the numbers, the product scalability, it's valid. But how they are nurtured into success, I think it's different.
What are you looking at when men or women come to you with ideas of businesses? So you know that they have potential, and I would notice something that Ilinka said, that it's a matter of how you present your product, but then again Sergio said there are not enough products to be worth looking at. So the first question would be, what are you looking at when somebody comes with an idea of a business to you?
I think everything is starting with people. Us at Gapminder, the first criteria, the most important is the entrepreneur, the quality of the entrepreneur, because the mentality that an entrepreneur must have is never give up. If the entrepreneur, and generally speaking, the team, because another criteria is very important, we are investing only in teams. It's fulfilled, we can discuss about product, about ideas, about everything else. If we don't have a good team of entrepreneurs, we are not investing. Doesn't matter how good is the product. And we are starting with this.
What would be I will ask you, because you said something. What would be the profile of this kind of person you're looking at? So if you think of some qualities of, like, if you had to think of it, or just not think of it, you probably have like this kind of people you already invested in. How are they?
We're looking for people with very good ideas, with capability to work in the team, with capability to understand that being an entrepreneur and starting a startup, it's a very, very difficult thing, that will be a lot of bad times before coming the good times, that you need to struggle to bootstrap, that you need to be ready to be rejected 100 times, and to be bold, to stay clear, and to keep going.
I would agree with the idea of the team, of course. Passionate, I would say. People that are passionate about their idea and they pursue it no matter what. Even if they're not successful the first time, they keep trying until funding comes. So passionate people with a good idea would be ideal.
I like, because we invest early stage, so angel investor is early. Sometimes they don't even have a final product, they have a few clients. And you asked me this, and I was thinking, what do I look at first? I'm trying, first of all, to leave my own biases aside, because I have them for sure. And I try to live also my mission, which is in the back of my head, I'm like, I want to educate, which is basically meaning, not necessarily for a return, but for impact, right? So the female in me says, let's help more young female make entrepreneurship, because I think it's best, let's say, future-oriented type of job and impact that you can have. This is my personal belief. But then I want to look at the innovation of the product, because I think the more interesting they are, the more new to the market. Of course, I take more risk, but the chance of exponential growth or breaking through barriers is bigger. So I look for innovative ideas that jump on a trend in the economy, a new behavior. You know, we can talk about circular economy or green energy or AI or the rest. And I also look for something called resilience, which is a trait, which means if you fail, you get up and you move on. And it's interesting. I think females are great at resilience. I think they have this capacity to bigger than, thank you, Sergio. So he says bigger than men. I think there is something very, very valuable in the loyalty, consistency, consciousness, and the ability to pick up and move on.
I would like to give me some of the examples because that's why we are here today for the case studies. So some examples of businesses led by women that you maybe invested in or maybe you are looking at right now, and then maybe also, as Ilinka said, of products that you believe in when looking at this, like really name what they are trying to sell, so to say.
I start with an example where Gemeinde didn't invest, but I'm mentor and I'm happy for the very beginning. And I think it's a dear project to Ilinka as well, Gloria, where Gabriela is an amazing founder. And because of Gabriela, other funds invested because they're woman-orientated funds. Despite the fact that was a local project, they succeed to went global. And right now they are more successful outside Romania than in Romania. And it's a very good example. They just succeed to raise a 2 million round fund, which will gonna make them a very successful company, according to me. We have other examples. One that I like it very much. It's Plannable, which I think it will be a huge company in the future, where Xenia Montan succeed to do absolutely amazing. It's a platform that is used even by United Nations, a lot of superstar companies from various domain of activities. We have another one which is more focused on Romania and US, which is MediJobs. Catrinel Hacivreta done an amazing job there, and the company is growing and extending in US as well. And another startup which is very promising is Velxi Kids, which it's a company that it will be not only a very good startup, but a company with impact, social impact, which is becoming more and more and more important right now. And these are a few examples, concrete examples, where women make amazing things in tech. And we really encourage them because despite the fact that it's very technical, it's common sense and business at the end of the day. And you don't need to be an expert in tech because the power of the company is the power of a team. You can lead the marketing, you can lead the sales. These are two things that are really missing in Romania. We have a lot of women which are on the tech side, but we need more on sales and on marketing especially.
Thank you. Good observation, actually. Now I was thinking when hearing you talk that when we think of women in tech or whatever, or IT and tech, we usually think of you must know how to program stuff to work there, which is not the case, right? So it's not about being there and writing the HTML, we don't know how to do that, what we're gonna do. So it's much more than that. Cool.
Yeah, I think I will take the
investment fund perspective on the slide there. I'll say that Innovix is actually a case in point. It is led by a woman. So there you go. There are, even in Romania, platforms that are woman-led and inspired. And I have a private equity background. I'm a partner in a private equity fund, and I've been in this industry since forever. And there are 2 women partners in our team, so this I think also counts as a contribution of women to this environment, and you've seen this explored more in depth earlier. In terms of female founders at the level of Innovix, which is more tech, to go back to the idea of IT, Innovix is not necessarily focused on teams that are focused on women or majority women. The teams are mixed. Most of them do include women, and they are also quite well represented in tech, although I will agree with Sergio that this is not necessarily what is compulsory as a skill or as a capability. The idea, I think, comes first, and tech is significantly easier to find once you have the distinctive idea and the defensible one. Yeah, I think we have more women focus here.
Actually, I will mention one that I invested early on many years ago, because I started investing, I think, in 2014, and I made a lot of bad decisions, and as an investor, as you do, this is how you learn, but also some good ones. Actually, my single, let's say, exit, it's actually a male company, which is Flip, that was sold to EMAG Ventures. And Gapmind, there was my partner there, so we kind of had this investment as a success story. At least for me, it was important, but not yet from a female founder, although my portfolio now includes diverse or exclusive female founders. But one of the first that I invested in, not directly, but through a platform, was Kinderpedia. And for me, they're a great example, also because I follow Evelina and I made friends with her. And she's also mentoring other young women in entrepreneurship, founders. And also she went through the difficulty of getting funded, developing a product in education at tech, caught by COVID, which was a propulsor in a way. Of course, a difficult time in all, but also managed to scale internationally. And as you mentioned, Pluria, this is a thing women struggle with, to expand internationally, because of the risk that it puts their life against. You need to relocate. One of the things, for example, Evelina was telling me, what's your greatest challenge, Evelina, in business? Relocating my entire family to, I don't know, Dubai or London or Netherlands, because it disrupts a lot. So I think this is an interesting case, Kinderpedia. And now there are Druid and Digitail, which are also companies that I like. Yeah, and they're also moving, and there are female founders who take their personal life and professional and manage to put them together and keep it in good health.
Cool, thank you. Let's imagine we have women with a business or a startup that want to get some money from you. You like the idea, but you think they're not really fit to be invested in yet. Do you have any sort of mentorship or support structures within your companies or firms to help them grow until you say, okay, you're ready for this?
Yeah, at Gapminder we have an acceleration program. Actually, we had some investment, 6 million euro, especially for this type of programs with a lot of companies. We mentored about 40 companies. The program will continue it even if we're not investing because we finished the money. I think this is a very important thing and we're gonna generate a lot of good results in the future. Even if a company is not ready at the very beginning or the early stage, we're really encouraging them to and support them, either referring to other incubators, accelerators in Romania or outside Romania, either telling them, mentoring them. I'm doing a lot of, and all my team, all my colleagues are doing a lot of mentorship. And this is very rewarding because a lot of references from good quality companies coming from this network. And helping growing the network, we're helping ourselves, we're helping the ecosystem because we have a very strong brand and I think Romania are gonna grow very fast in the next years, and it's the only way to find quality companies, quality people. Only together we can grow the ecosystem.
I think mentorship is embedded in the fabric of funds, no matter what stage. Innovix is a business accelerator, so mentorship is essential for them. That's basically what they do. They're upgrading to scale-ups and venture capital funds, and they are continuing with strong mentorship. So yes, absolutely. And as mentorship goes very well for startups and scale-ups, so does advisory board for venture capital funds and later stages funds. It is a continuous type of mentorship, not only during the program, but also or especially after the program. I think this is the case with Kinderpedia, which is actually an example shared, as you can see, by everyone. They were part of Innovix. I think they were financed by you too, or yeah. So there you go. It's across the board.
We are not an accelerator, but for example, we follow closely Innovix and also Accelerator for, let's say, pipeline for investment. So thank you, first of all. I'm very happy when I see Innovix alumni or Accelerator. So it's important for investors to have this check or this, program because there is no school for it. We don't have a university in entrepreneurship. We have one, which is a private one that I happen to be a coach and one of the co-founders, but it's a small. We have 150 students in Entrepreneurship Academy undergrad program, and I'm mentioning it just briefly also because there is, I think, more women coming and applying to this school, and makes me happy to see there could be a very early inception into entrepreneurship for females. So we're not an accelerator, but what I'm trying to do with Brava to encourage the angels, especially women that join as angels and they apply for the community and they pay the membership. They instantly become angels, not just for their money. They're not there only for the money, but they are there for contributing to the startups that come with knowledge, network, and previous, let's say, experience. So as a facilitator, because I run this community, I realize that women are very good at mentoring because they spend time and they listen and they really share everything. I did a comparison between a pitch with the same startup, female investors only group and male investor, 2 separate pitches, 1 day apart. It's funny to watch because first of all, it's educational, but it's funny. And men are extremely professional investors and they ask the right questions. And, I don't want to go into prevention, promotion questions, but they really say, okay, thank you for your presentation. We will come back. It was a nice, congratulations, and so forth. And then women come, investors, angels, and they listen to the pitch. And at every stage of the pitch, they share something. They say, hey, did you think about this? I know a guy that can help with that. I have a colleague that can facilitate a recruitment for that. Did you think about this? So at the end of the pitch, the founder gets out with a list of ideas and help on the spot, not even before investing. So it's very early on the need to contribute, that female allow more time to it than men. So having a platform of angels that can support the startup with knowledge and mentoring, even before the money or in addition to money, is probably Bravo Angels' way to educate founders.
Cool. Thank you very much. I was just thinking right now, when a woman comes and pitch her idea, her business, her startup, how could she, what can she do to improve the presentation? So what are you looking at? She's coming with the idea. How does a perfect pitch in your own mind look like?
I think does not exist a perfect pitch, so to say, and we're thinking about 300 to 400 teams per year, and we're encouraging everybody to discuss and to present in their own way, to take their time. We're taking our time to understand, to help them, because at the end of the day, putting the right questions and encouraging people to speak and to talk, at the end of the day, you're going to find out what the ideas are, what is the technology behind, what is the strategy, and everything. Of course, it will be wonderful if these people are going to be prepared and participating in programs like Brava has and Tech Accelerator and other startups. It will be beautiful, because sometimes the people, they don't have the time and to listen to you. Or if you are going to various events, you need to have a pitch in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, because after this you're losing your possible investor and so on. But doing trial and error, you're going to learn and you're going to perfect your pitches. I think after you're repeating about 100 times, you're good enough in order to pitch very fast, to know exactly and to catch the attention of your probable investor. It's part of the game. It's part of the learning curve. I really encourage everybody to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. And at the end of the day, we're going to have an amazing pitch.
Yeah. Building a pitch is part of the Innovix program, of course. I think they're very well known for their elevator pitch, which is an actual elevator pitch. They do this for the selection of startups and scale-ups and VC fund teams, actually. It's an under pressure exercise. They repeat it a lot, the participants. They end up liking it. They learn, obviously, the pitch well enough to be able to interpret it in 60 seconds. It is a highly valuable exercise. I think it's valuable for the funds that and maybe the angels that are investing in these ideas or future companies. So it's part of the educational process, let's say, that most accelerators or all, I would dare say, are actually very much into, and they are preparing teams.
I agree with everything, but I want to add a different perspective, if I may, which is the idea of, if you can, try to not play the game. What does this mean? It's a red ocean. I mean, it means that everybody is looking for the same investors. In Romania, unfortunately or fortunately, there are a few funds, 4 in total. So it's a red ocean in the sense of competition. Everybody's going to pitch to the same people pretty much in the same way. And of course, you will use words like, AI and this and that, so to be cool, although it's not necessarily built in your product. But what I'm trying to say, don't go that path, which is, I think, not necessarily, it minimizes your chances, in my view. Again, it's very maybe different perspective, but what I would suggest is that you do it the other way around, which means try to choose your investors for a reason. Be strategic. In America, they say send it to 400 VCs and you'll get statistics, 10% will answer, and then you go through the 5 meetings and then you'll get a fund. I don't like this approach. I rather go for, okay, do your research, see which is the fund or the investor or the community that your product matches. Okay, what does Sergiu invested in before and why? Because if you talk to 5 founders that Sergiu invested in, you will get how Sergiu is as a profile, as preferences, as an approach, as a personality, everything. Or Anna, or, for the sake of conversation, any type of investor. And try to get to know them privately, separately, LinkedIn, create your own, let's say, personal relationship with them, professional, of course, and then ask them to introduce you to their investment board and pitch after they get to know you and you get to know them. It's very different. It takes you out of the sales, very typical boom, 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 boom pitch, 3 minutes, which I think has no value, honestly. So do it the other way around.
Thank you. Have you ever been, like all of you, in the 1-minute pitch elevator? Have you ever done it? Yeah?
Even ourselves, like funds, we need to raise money. So I need to pitch a lot, and I'm pitching every day. I'm ready to pitch to you as well.
Yeah. Can
you do it? Absolutely, absolutely.
But
I think
for funds, 1 minute I think would be
it's a little bit
very brave.
I need to catch the attention. After I'm catching the attention, or after I got a meeting, I have enough time. But that one crucial meeting, it's enough to get the attention. And after this, it's much easier because I'm going to invite somebody to a coffee, to a lunch, to a dinner, whatever. And yes, I need a lot of money. We want to make 80 million funds. So I need to pitch a lot to a lot of people to convince them that it's the right time, the right industry, what means to invest in the fund, what are the advantages and disadvantages, what are the risks, what are the upsides. Maybe somebody is interested to make 30-40% a year. Or they're running the risk that they're losing their money. Hopefully not, because you give money to some experienced fund managers, which they proved already with the fund that they're good and they're capable to invest in good companies. So yeah, it's very important to get to that meeting as a founder to catch the attention, because it's impossible in 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to explain what are your ideas. Our experience at the Gapminder, we are not making meetings shorter than 1 hour. It's impossible to understand the vision. It's absolutely impossible to understand the product, the future, the market, the potential. No, it's impossible. But that 1 minute is the most important because you catch the attention of your audience.
I would just have to add here that I think its exposure is relevant in itself. Up to the point where you get to have tailor-made pitches and orient your questions and your answers to match the profile of the investor, you need exposure. As diverse as possible, as much as possible, in any way possible, 1 minute, 1 hour, 20 minutes, whatever, it doesn't matter. Exposing your pitch and your team and yourself to as many profiles as possible has definitely its virtue. And I think it needs to be tried because you learn a lot just by talking to a wide diversity of people. Networking in investing any type, venture capital, private equity, whatever, is highly relevant.
Ilinka, I made a note here about an event that you're holding, Ginger Night. Can you tell? Yeah, can you tell us about more? Is it this evening?
Yeah, we have a couple of events that we do. One is for networking, education. We bring speakers. It's not a format of a conference. It's more informal, over a drink. And it's for the community of female founders, investors, angels, and people working in the ecosystem, even funds or accelerated programs of education, to come and meet in a more informal way, because there are not many of this kind, right? In the venture capital, it's considered very serious and very dry, but it's actually, we are humans, so we need to connect also in different ways, not just in a pitch situation. And yes, it's an icon event, because it's people come there to and to not be, I don't know, judged or pitched necessarily from a very strict perspective, but more to learn and to be exposed. So there is not a necessarily ultimate skin in the game. You're not competing with anybody. You're getting to know the ecosystem better. So I invite people to join and to register for the event, maybe for the next times. And I'm very happy to see more female, of course, attending, but also men are welcome, because we love diversity. And then we have workshops and different events for angels. Also, I realize this is a need in the market to get people that want to work in the investment venture capital, either that they are analysts or investment managers or account managers, but also as an angel. You want to understand what you're doing. And females, angels precisely, they work with understanding, because it again helps them with clarity, which helps them with understanding risk and managing anxiety. So having more investor workshops, I think it's something helpful. Maybe we can unite forces with the entire venture capital and do more in this respect. I would love to do that, actually.
Good, thank you. So now that I got Ilinka to invite you all to her party, and that was my main objective, it's good to know that you might have access to such an important community with people that it's usually hard
to say, it's at write me on LinkedIn if you want to join, and I will send you the link so you can register. So we walk the talk, which means if you heard about the event, you're all invited. Just let me know that you would like to attend, and I will send you the details. Thank you.
Ilinka is doing amazing events with amazing people.
Just like I asked all the guests in the other panels before, I would want to know from each of you what there is to offer to the women who have businesses or startups in the audience. So during lunch, if they come to talk to you, what they can expect to get from you, an advice, I don't know, anything that crosses your mind right now and could help them.
Shall I answer? And then we close with Sergio. So I like innovation, so I will ask questions about the scalability of the product, because I like to challenge on that. I would also, I can help you with understanding angel investing, what kind of angels you can target, what kind of amounts, what stage are you in, I mean, related to the stage that your startup in. And introduce you to people that you might look for.
Yeah, Innovix is an acceleration program that delivers. So, it's a sort of a fitness program for founders, irrespective of the gender, with all these ingredients included: mentorship, networking, learning, funding, pipeline for the different stages, including for funds, not only for founders. So any type of question related to all these topics would be highly welcome and answered.
All the funds are raising money, but all the funds need to invest the money. And we'd like to see as many companies as we can, as many ideas. We can help you to understand what means for your startup, for your ideas to become reality, how to grow, how to put you in contact with a lot of smart people, mentors, investors, and so on, because we are co-investing with other people. We need good mentorship. We need angels and super angels. Unfortunately, it's missing a lot this component in Romania of the angels, and this is because of lack of financial education. And I think women must be more courageous and to try to learn more and to invest more, because I think, and we have a very smart banker here in the room, and she can confirm that are a lot of money that are staying in the bank, generating not too much interest, and I think we need to learn to invest.
Thank you very much.
Just, excuse me, one more point here that I feel we need to stress it out is that this environment that you have probably seen is highly cooperative, which is not necessarily the case in business, in the sense that VC funds, accelerating programs, investors, founders on a horizontal basis, they work together, they know each other, they cooperate a lot, as I said, and I think this is also due to the number of women that are present in this environment, which is higher than in later stages, as was the private equity case.
Thank you. Now we're gonna take some questions from the audience, so please raise your hand. Yes, I'm coming.
Hi, thank you. I'm Sylvia again. I'm working with the Accelerator, and I want to, have let's say an optimistic approach, because we do lack business angels, or we would need more. We lack good products, of course, because you want to invest in them. But why now is a good time to be in Central and Eastern Europe if you are a founder, for example? Because we know the bad things, right? The rounds are smaller, the valuation is maybe less than US and other markets. But why is a good time now to be a founder, be it a tech founder or not, to start a business or to start raising money in this specific region? Thank you.
Something comes to mind. I think one of the things I can encourage is, I think it's optimistic, yes, is that it's emerging area, which means that if you take a product that it's successful in US and you started in Romania, you might succeed because you can learn from that product, how was it built, why, what was the problem it was solving, on what market, and then kind of apply it in Romania. There are many, very few startups are actually very original in Romania. Most of them are actually based on the success or other markets that they can learn from. So being in a young market gives you this. Another reason is that you can find, I think, easier people to work with you as it is in other areas, which means that good people can be attracted into working in startups. I think it's harder to recruit if you're somewhere in the West or in the US, extremely good people, because they get hunted by so many companies with such good conditions. Also, I think it's culturally, no, I want to tap into the female aspect also, because we are a very small venture capital market. We're like 100 million volume, right? 100 million last year, total volume of transactions in venture capital. And Europe is around 90 billions. So we are super, super small. But if early on we understand the value of female co-founder present in the team, then I think as long as the market will grow, more females can access this funding. So I think being female in CEE is better than being female in the US, to be honest.
I will just have to agree with everything, but complement by the fact that there is a lot of institutional money available right now for these types of companies and funds. So I guess this is the well-timed opportunity.
I think it's a lot of talent, a lot of money in the region, and I think it's a huge opportunity in tech especially because you can make a company going global. In a traditional industry, for example, I'm doubting that, or in agriculture, we're going to set up a startup and make agriculture, and you suddenly in 5-6 years, you're going to become a huge international company. It's almost impossible. But with a very good product in tech, I think you can become in 5, 6, 7, 10 years a unicorn. I think this is a unique opportunity and women can take advantage. I hope Planable one day will be a unicorn. Kinderpedia, I don't know, or making a huge exit, which cannot be possible in other traditional industries. That's true.
Thank you very much for your answers. Any more questions? Okay, I guess that was it. Thank you very much for your answers and for your kindness to be here. And don't forget, we have just a little bit to go. So in like 15 minutes we'll be done. But before that, don't forget you can meet all of the people or the people that remain here during lunchtime, which will be soon. Thank you very much for your presence. I will now invite Lestat Monroe to present you an ADNI certification program and trainings, and then we will move on with the final remarks. Thank you.
You're going to stay with me, right?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Well, thank you very much for all the speakers to share so much information with us. And I want to retain two things on my side because I will let the conclusion to our friend Lara a bit later. She's the expert here. We spoke a lot about knowledge. And we spoke, Ilinka spoke about it at last, we spoke about innovation. And this is our work somewhat at the Chamber. It's to create knowledge in ED&I, but also to be able to certify companies and to push the process of diversity and inclusion. I think we all understand that without bringing the diversity at the table, there is no innovation. If there is no innovation, there is no profits. And when a fund decides to put some money on a project, they need to make sure that there is enough innovation in that fund, in that project in order to be profitable. So we created at the Chamber something that we call the EDNI certification. The EDNI certification permits to certify companies in their EDNI endeavor and follow them during a process of 2 years. We already know that there is funds that are practicing this this research when they select a project. Like for example, our new member, Ness Investment, they are requiring their stakeholder to have an EDNI program. We hope that we will start collaboration on certifying their future stakeholders. But this certification, if you want to push it on 2 years, we also need to bring in knowledge. That's where the Chamber, we are developing what we call the ED&I Knowledge Center, where we're providing companies with need assessment, workshops, and also, it's behind there. You can scan the QR code, you'll get all of it there. But also trainings in ED&I generally. I think I did my talk, right?
Well done.
Well done. Well, thank you. I will invite Laura from EIB, please, for the closing remarks.
I know, I will. That's why I set expectations wrong now. Shall I move to the concluding remarks? So, well, thank you very much. When Lestat and the Chamber of Commerce proposed the EIB and myself to work on this conference, I said, oh my God, this is too ambitious. Investment funds, gender, Romania. We are not ready, we are not there. And I personally don't like events just for the sake of events. I'm very happy to say that I was wrong. I found the event today full of content, a lot of breadth of knowledge. We started from landscape, outlook, situation, where Romania is, Romania in the region, with the last panel giving concrete insights to female founders or investors into female ventures. I'm very happy and satisfied, and I think it gives hope and optimism. Actually, I find that that event was quite full of optimism compared to the usual pattern here, in the sense that when I started with my opening remarks, I said that we are now looking forward to walk the talk and to move into a more structured, alive ecosystem that I saw myself getting populated in these 5 years that I was in Romania. Now I go home today with a clear perception that we are already in the first steps of walking the talk. The ecosystem is actually being built. We saw the dynamics in this third panel between, Sergio, Ilinka, Anna. I mean, basically the ecosystem is there, is building up. Of course, we need time, but also we need to be indeed the more vocal. I have to confess, I didn't say at the beginning because I didn't want to jeopardize the whole thing, but I have organized in 2018 an event, and I contacted the only 3 female founders in the private equity funds in Romania, and 2 of them, one of them accepted the invite, Simona, she's still here active and kicking on the topic. The other 2 told me, oh, I have to ask to my co-founder. Subtext, man, subtext, husband. They never came back to me. So we have done, and we have come a long way, I think, and I am proud. I think the ecosystem is being built, and now what I also like as a banker to kind of say, okay, what's next? I also told Lestat, let's try to understand what's next now. I believe that, of course, us as institutional money, this institutional money that was mentioned is basically, apart from other IFAs, but basically EIF funds. You heard from my colleague Salome earlier today. It's PNRR money. I mean, it's a lot of institutional money indeed coming. I think the next step for me, it's also from us as stakeholders to work more on ownership and commitment from Romanian institutions. It's not only about the private sector, it's not only about the market, it's not only about the corporates, it's not only about the money, but now we need to move this agenda into the public sector ownership, because the ecosystem will not be, I would say, healthy enough if we don't have an overall framework set by the government, with the government championing this, or at least some governmental institutions. I'm thinking about the Romanian Development Bank, which is a topic on the Romanian agenda for 20 years. But I have to say today it's really coming because it's a milestone of PNRR. The important thing is to do it right, to get it right, and I will take the let me say the task to bring these discussions on the table of the to be established soon Romanian Development Bank, because as in other EU countries, the national development banks are instrumental to incentivize, let's say, more gender fairness into the market. I would say that we have heard a number of keywords that I want to repeat, just for you to stick into your mind, to take it home. The first one is data, relevance of data. I think we all agree on that, and I'm quite proud that we are active on this dimension, and we will keep it going with our stakeholders. And also we will also patch in other international and financial institutions like the World Bank that is about to publish a gender assessment index for Romania in this space in September. The other keywords was networking and ally and role modeling. I have to say I find quite an inspirational role modeling content today. I think my perception is that in Romania, somehow in the past, gender equality, I think you ask why they are not speaking up more, these role models. I think no one dared to answer, at least because it's a bit of a tricky question for the country. I think there is, I can say it, I think there is a stigma, or there was a stigma about gender equality, which was perceived not a sexy, fancy topic at all, damaging both male and women mentioning it, particularly because there was, and there is somehow still in some niches, a connection between gender equality versus, or let me say, against family. If we promote gender equality, you are against family, which is absolutely not true. But it takes generations to change this bias, both in male and female. And I think, and I'm very happy to see and say that we are moving away, slowly but steadily, from this. And we will have, and we have, and I think the tech space and the future generation is going to be the driver in having more women speaking up on this front. I think I will be happy to somehow discuss further during lunch and in the next event and more, to see how we go from here and we contribute to develop even further and sustain the development of the ecosystem that we saw today slowly being alive and kicking. Thank you very much again for your participation and for staying so long. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's start. We invite you again.
Inviting me again. I forgot something important. I forgot to thank our generous sponsors today, without whom we could not have done this event. And I'd like to mention Denton Romania, ING Bank, also funding member of the Chamber, Nest Investment Fund, which is a new member, MyEcoBox, also a member, and Raiffeisen Bank, also funding member and board member of the Chamber. I would like to thank our sponsor in kind, which is taking care of the technique today, which is WeMaster, and our media partner, the Business Review and GovNet. I will skip these supporters because it's all embassies, but I would just want to underline two people here. It will be Lara from EIB and also Marion from the Women Network, Women in Tech, who helped my team amazingly to gather this amazing panel and speaker today. And a last thank you to the executive team of the chamber, Andrea, Mirela, and Mirai, sorry, Mate. As the last one coming, Mate, for their great work to organize such an amazing event. Thank you very much. We have something else to add before we can.
Yes, bon appetit because lunch is coming.
You have something else? No, okay.
Thank you, Lestat. Thank you, Lestat.
Bon appetit. Thank you.
Thank you very much.